A month after the unveiling of the exorbitantly expensive True Poverty anti-missile system by the Eagle Nation, Long Country quietly launched a mighty rocket. In the next instant, 1,000 stars fell from the sky. The astonishing spectacle was triggered by a condemned prisoner. Despite being ensnared in a conspiracy and facing the scorn of millions, Jiang Yi never relinquished his belief in the resurgence of Long Country. If I live, I shall make the entire Blue Star witness what it means for the dragon to soar across the world, to astonish the four seas. From that moment forth, the largest research institution in Blue Star transformed into the prison where Jiang Yi resided. The Golden Crow satellite killer, the Viper bionic beast, the Kuafu biological mecha, the Jingwei amphibious aircraft, the Xuanwu heavy tank, the Kunping space mothership. One after another, these groundbreaking military technologies, far surpassing Blue Star's current capabilities, emerged, instantly shocking all powers. While the Eagle Nation and its allies were still playing their petty games, Long Country had successfully manufactured a spacecraft capable of surpassing light speed, embarking on a path of interstellar conquest. As Jiang Yi stepped out of the prison, he was met with a gleaming medal of supreme honor, inscribed with the words, "A national hero without equal." At 7 a.m. today, the Eagle Nation announced the details of the True Poverty anti-missile system, claiming it cost hundreds of billions of Eagle coins to deploy hundreds of anti-missile satellites in space, causing a global uproar. It has been confirmed that this system is inextricably linked to the so-called Star Curtain project offered by Company X for internet services. The hundreds of Star Curtain satellites floating above Long Country will become the sword of Damocles hanging over the heads of all Long Country citizens. Long Country has lodged a solemn protest and plans to convene a joint meeting. In Liaoning Province, at the military prison in Shenyang, Cell 18, Jiang Yi stood in front of the television, a torrent of chaotic memories flooding his mind. Huaxia Long Country have I crossed over? Just moments ago, he was the chief designer of the South Tianmen project, the youngest scientific prodigy in Huaxia. Yet, after an exhausting 108-hour work marathon, he unexpectedly succumbed to a heart attack and traversed into this parallel world. Now he was a condemned prisoner, charged with treason and attempting to steal the J-35 design blueprints. Today was his execution day. In the next news, the Eagle Nation and the White Elephant signed the silly system deployment agreement. Damn Eagle Nation, how long have they been shitting on our necks? A blockade of aircraft carriers, technological embargoes, and island chains trapping the dragon. When will it end? How terrified they must be of Long Country's rise. Snapping back to reality, Jiang Yi could not help but scoff, only to be met with the derisive laughter of a fellow inmate. Save it, Long Country? Even if you give it another 100 years, it won't catch up to the Eagle Nation. The Eagle Nation is the lighthouse of humanity, the overlord of Blue Star, the most developed and free nation. And what of Long Country? Just a developing nation. What can it compare to the Eagle Nation? For a hopeless country like this, why bother? It's better to seek personal gain. Speaking of which, if I hadn't been caught by sheer misfortune back then, I would have been sipping coffee under the Statue of Liberty by now. Jiang Yi suddenly turned, gripping his cellmate's collar, and coldly retorted, "To sell out your country for a bit of filthy money dough, you even deserve to be called a citizen of Long Country." The cellmate brushed Jiang Yi's hand away with disdain, sneering, "Keep pretending. Aren't you here for money, just like me? What's with the high moral ground? Tell me, how much is the Eagle Nation offering you for the J-35 blueprints?" Listening to his cellmate's taunts, Jiang Yi felt his anger boil over and punched him squarely in the face. "I didn't steal. I graduated with honors from GF Technology University and entered the Supreme Research Institute as an outstanding graduate. Why would I steal blueprints? I must have been framed otherwise. How could I possibly be here? Don't compare me to someone like you, you're not worthy." Stumbling from the blow, the cellmate was no pushover and retaliated with a kick. "Damn it, I gave you face." The two immediately engaged in a brawl. Jiang Yi endured a punch to the face and bit down on the cellmate's ear, pulling with all his might. With a tearing sound, the cellmate let out a scream, covering his ear in disbelief. He never imagined that this seemingly refined young man could be so ferocious. Was it really necessary to react so violently just for a few words against Long Country? Others on the internet had said far worse. 0666 0438. Stop it. Several guards rushed in, forcibly separating the two. 0666. Don't think you can do as you please just because you're about to be executed. This is not a place for your arrogance. 0438's ear has been bitten off. Quickly send him to the infirmary. Jiang Yi held his swollen cheek, spitting out the half-ear from his mouth, a gleam of satisfaction flashing in his eyes. These 500,000 individuals who typically hid behind their internet cables had no way to confront him. But now that they were face-to-face, a real fight was warranted to honor his ancestors. Such people deserved it. 0666, come with us, it's time to go. Two guards escorted him to the injection room. Time to go? The delight in Jiang Yi's eyes faded, replaced by a sense of melancholy. Unfortunately, he would not witness the day Long Country soared. If given another chance, he would exhaust all his abilities to show the entire Blue Star what it meant for the dragon to dominate the world and astonish the four seas. Suddenly, a soft sound echoed in his mind, causing him to pause. Ding. Bloodline detection of Long Country in progress. God-level military industry system activating. Congratulations, host. The God-level military industry system has been activated. Level 1 technology unlocking. Congratulations, host. You have acquired the Golden Crow type satellite killer manufacturing technology and its accompanying technologies. Current shock value, 0. Showcasing manufactured military technology to the world can yield corresponding shock values. Achieving a shock value of 10,000 will unlock level 2 technology. Jiang Yi was overjoyed, but his happiness quickly turned to despair. With death looming, what use was the system? While waiting for his demise, he casually opened the blueprint for the Golden Crow type satellite killer. The next second, he was ecstatic once more. After merely glancing at it, he grasped one crucial point. This was a piece of equipment that surpassed Blue Star's current technology by at least 30 years. To think, satellite technology was a cutting-edge advancement that many nations could only dream of attaining. And using satellites to intercept missiles in outer space was a capability possessed solely by the Eagle Nation's True Poverty anti-missile system. This meant that all missiles launched by other powers on Blue Star could potentially be intercepted by the Eagle Nation from outer space. How terrifying this was for the remaining countries of Blue Star. The Golden Crow type satellite killer perfectly countered the recently unveiled True Poverty system. Moreover, it addressed the critical issue of helplessness against satellites hovering in low Earth orbit, reaching an astonishing level. Indeed, it was astonishing. With a heart pounding with excitement, Jiang Yi meticulously examined the accompanying technologies. Solar energy lossless conversion technology, plasma ultra-high-speed propulsion technology, laser weapon technology, bionic mechanical arm technology, stealth technology, ultra-intelligent AI technology. Each of these cutting-edge technologies, which had consumed countless scientists' efforts, had a flawless solution. Moreover, they could be applied across various industries, enabling Long Country to undergo a thorough industrial upgrade. Such terror, such awe, I must be dreaming. Upon hearing Jiang Yi's jubilant voice, the two prison guards exchanged glances, casting sympathetic looks towards him. Could it be that this lad has been driven mad by fear? Yet, upon reflection, it is quite normal even the most heinous criminals, when strapped to this chair, often face an instantaneous mental collapse. Many have lost control of their bodily functions, pleading pathetically, while some have even succumbed to sheer terror. Rest assured, the injection is painless. Simply close your eyes, and it will be over in an instant. The two guards tightened the restraints on Jiang Yi, binding him securely to the execution chair. Many inmates instinctively struggle before their execution, making this a necessary precaution. No, I cannot die. This technology must be submitted to the state. With this technology, the Dragon Nation will surely enhance its national strength significantly. Jiang Yi's gaze grew resolute, his spirit rekindled. He looked at the two guards and exerted all his strength to break free. Let me go? I demand to see the warden. I possess classified technical blueprints that must be submitted. Chapter 2. The terrifying satellite assassin shocks the executioner. In the monitoring room, Warden Wang Zhun, cigarette in mouth, coldly observed the scenes in the injection room. Having served as the warden of this prison since his retirement from the Special Forces over 2 decades ago, he had witnessed countless executions and the various forms of despair exhibited by prisoners in their final moments, his heart long since frozen in ice. He had seen many like Jiang Yi, whose claims of possessing classified blueprints were merely desperate ploys to delay their execution. Did he truly believe he was akin to the genius from decades past who invented brushless motors within prison? Such talents emerge but once a century. And that individual had produced tangible results. Unlike Jiang Yi, who relied solely on empty words. Did he think he could reduce his sentence through inventions? And what of his so-called classified blueprints? Such dreams were futile. Another cowardly soul. He put on such a righteous act in the cell, I almost believed he was truly wronged. Someone like him, willing to be a spy for a little money, would naturally be afraid. If he truly possessed classified blueprints, I would defecate upside down. I wager that even if he had blueprints, they would be trivial inventions. A few subordinates were betting amongst themselves, their eyes filled with disdain. Over the years, prisoners had resorted to every trick in the book to reduce their sentences. Yet the inventions they presented were often ludicrous. Take this super toilet plunger. For instance, while it did clear blockages, it became stuck itself. Then there was the smart broom, designed to track sweeping time. How absurd. The most ridiculous was the hydraulic car, claimed to run on water, which was ultimately revealed to be a complete scam when the inmate added oil to the water. Enough, commenced the execution. With a command from Wang Zhun, the guards retreated, and the executioner slowly entered the room, holding a large syringe. Do not worry, most people only feel a brief sting. In consideration of human rights, I will explain the execution process so you may understand your demise better. The first injection of sodium thiopental will induce unconsciousness. The second injection of pancuronium bromide will paralyze your muscles, rendering you unable to scream, even if you possess a unique constitution. The final injection of potassium chloride will depolarize your cardiac muscle, resulting in cardiac arrest. However, should the first injection fail, the third will be excruciating. Explanation complete. We shall now proceed with the execution. The executioner, expressionless, sat beside Jiang Yi and applied iodine to his arm. Jiang Yi thrashed violently, his survival instincts igniting a rush of blood to his head, his eyes bloodshot. I speak the truth, I truly possess classified blueprints. I have developed a revolutionary satellite assassin, named Golden Crow. With a chuckle, the executioner responded. I may be new to this job, but I never expected someone would dare to tell such grandiose lies. Why invent something like a satellite assassin? Do you think you are Musk? As far as I know, even the Americans have no effective means against satellites in outer space. And you? A satellite? An assassin? Enough of this delay. The longer we wait, the more fear you will feel. The executioner pressed the syringe, poised to insert it into Jiang Yi's arm. In the face of death, Jiang Yi's mind raced, the parameters of Golden Crow flooding his thoughts. Golden Crow satellite assassin, 5 meters in length, 3 meters in height, with a wingspan of 15 meters. Covered in super alloy armor, it can withstand explosions equivalent to 800 kilograms of TNT. Its wings conceal solar energy conversion devices, ensuring a minimum of 1 month of operational endurance. Equipped with plasma propulsion technology, it can maintain speeds of at least Mach 3 in outer space without compromising maneuverability. Possessing highly intelligent AI, it can autonomously assess friend or foe based on existing commands and exhibits a degree of cognitive ability. As Jiang Yi spoke fervently, the executioner's eyes widened in astonishment. Though she had not witnessed it firsthand, Jiang Yi's vivid descriptions ignited her imagination. Coming from a military family, she had absorbed knowledge of various military equipment from a young age. She understood clearly that if this satellite assassin could indeed be realized, the Dragon Nation would be unparalleled in outer space. There would be no more helpless scenarios involving espionage satellites hovering overhead. Imagining a future conflict where enemies, poised to scout Dragon Nation's movements via satellites, would find themselves rendered powerless as their connections failed, she couldn't help but let out a silly laugh. Beep successfully astonished the executioner, earning 100 astonishment points. With a soft thud, the syringe fell to the ground, producing a faint sound. It was only then that the executioner regained her senses, hastily picking up the syringe. Do you truly believe what you have said? Can it really be achieved? Jiang Yi nodded firmly, hope gleaming in his eyes. Indeed, and this is merely the beginning. The Dragon Nation will unveil even more wondrous technologies, leaving the entire Blue Star far behind. He looked at the executioner, offering a slight smile. Technologies that will be unmatched for 100 or even 1,000 years. Of course, the prerequisite is that you grant me the opportunity to draft the design blueprints. The executioner gazed at the hopeful expression on Jiang Yi's face, her cheeks slightly flushing beneath her mask. Could someone so filled with hope for the future truly be a traitorous spy? Perhaps she should grant him a chance. After all, if it were false, it would be easily discernible, wouldn't it? But if it were true, the implications for the Dragon Nation would be monumental. She turned, seeking assistance from the monitoring room. Inside, Warden Wang Zhen's face darkened. Youth, how foolishly naive. To be so easily swayed by this boy's words. If left unchecked, he might well be led astray by some trickster. He snatched up the microphone and barked, do not be deceived, it is all lies. Proceed with the execution immediately, this is an order. Upon hearing Wang Zhen's words, the executioner instinctively stood at attention. Yet, in the very next moment, she hesitated and spoke, but, what if? There are no what ifs. I have encountered such tricks many times. Wang Zhen interrupted the executioner's words. Even if he were to utter the name of a flower today, the orders cannot be altered. He is destined to die today. I insist. Dad, Warden, I wish to grant him a chance. If what he says is true, it would be an immense blessing for the Dragon Nation. Let him draw a blueprint. Listening to his daughter's words, Wang Zhen felt a wave of dizziness wash over him, nearly triggering his hypertension. His daughter possessed many virtues. She was intelligent, beautiful, and had already graduated with a doctorate in medicine at the tender age of 21, securing a position within the system. He had heard that there were intentions from above to groom her for the Supreme Court, and her future appeared exceedingly bright. However, she was far too kind-hearted, too easily trusting of others. In a world rife with malevolence, should this continue, it was not inconceivable that one day she might return cradling a small, golden-haired child. He hurriedly retrieved his blood pressure medication and swallowed a few pills, managing to regain some composure. Wang Shanshan, oh Wang Shanshan, you are driving me to my grave. Wait there, I shall be right there. Wang Zhen, accompanied by his subordinates, hastened towards the injection room. Warden, calm down. Shanshan was deceived by that boy. Indeed, once we arrive, we shall see how to deal with that scoundrel. However, as they rushed to push open the door to the injection room, the sight that greeted them rendered them speechless. Wang Shanshan, what have you done? You have actually violated execution protocols and unbound the prisoner without authorization. Chapter 3. The warden was taken aback. Is this what you call a satellite killer? In front of Jiang Yi lay paper and pen, and his hands had been freed by Wang Shanshan. At that moment, he was fervently scribbling on the paper. Wang Shanshan, do you realize how perilous this is? As Wang Zhan's furious roar echoed, several subordinates swiftly moved forward to pull Wang Shanshan back. Anguish and frustration marred Wang Zhan's face as he raised his hand, hesitating to strike. This was his only beloved daughter, whom he had never brought himself to hit throughout her life. Wang Shanshan, what on earth are you thinking? If that boy suddenly turns violent, what will you do? He sighed, popping a few antihypertensive pills into his mouth to calm his nerves. Wang Shanshan gently tugged at the corner of Wang Zhan's clothing, whispering, look at his eyes. He doesn't seem like a liar. Father, you should see the drawings he made. They are remarkably professional. Only then did Wang Zhan and his subordinates shift their attention to Jiang Yi. I trust him as far as I can throw him. That boy is up to no good. Restrain him and continue the execution. I want to write the character Wang until I've punctured him with 8 needles today. One subordinate stepped forward, reaching to snatch the paper from Jiang Yi's leg. But in the next instant, he froze in place. 1 second, 2 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds. He remained as if ensnared by a spell, his eyes locked onto the drawing. Utterly motionless. What was going on? Had he lost his mind? Wang Zhan exchanged glances with 2 other subordinates, who understood his silent command and cautiously approached Jiang Yi with electric batons in hand. Strangely, upon merely glancing at the drawing on Jiang Yi's leg, both of them halted in their tracks as well. Was this a supernatural occurrence? A special ability? Wang Zhan shook his head, dismissing the chaotic thoughts. He had witnessed countless brutal and bloody events. What kind of tricks did they think would intimidate him? Absolutely not. You lot are still too inexperienced. Return and reinforce your ideological education. Wang Zhan strode forward, quickly arriving at Jiang Yi's side. Observing the fervent expression on Jiang Yi's face as he wrote passionately, he sneered, abruptly snatching the drawing from Jiang Yi's leg. Let me see what kind of nonsense you are concocting. He cast a cursory glance at the drawing in his hands. Designed blueprint for the Golden Crow Type 1 satellite killer. What kind of satellite killer was this? Don't think that a few scribbles would grant you immunity. What have I not seen in my life? But in the next moment, his eyes widened in shock. For on that paper was an exquisitely detailed depiction of an extraordinarily formidable mechanical bird. This mechanical avian was entirely encased in lustrous golden armor, and upon closer inspection, intricate black patterns were concealed within. The graceful lines of its bird-like form exuded a wild elegance, perfectly harmonizing with the principles of aerodynamics. The creature's 2 eyes gleamed with a scarlet radiance, its elongated beak sharp as a razor, and from its partially open mouth protruded what appeared to be a cannon-like apparatus. The talons at the ends of its 3 legs resembled alloy blades, capable of effortlessly shredding any target to pieces. Wang Zhan inhaled sharply, unable to believe the sight of this extraordinary beast that seemed to leap from the pages of myth. How awe-inspiring, he silently exclaimed, though his face remained an unruffled mask of composure. As the warden of a prison, he must maintain an impassive demeanor, even if he were utterly captivated by this design. Longing to claim it for his own collection, he could not allow such emotions to surface. Moreover, you dare to call this a satellite killer? It bears no resemblance to a satellite whatsoever. It is in fact a perfect replication of the legendary 3-legged golden crow from mythology. Is this truly your creation? Jiang Yi was rendered speechless and rolled his eyes at him. If not my own, could it be your daughter's? The corners of Wang Zhan's mouth twitched. He was acutely aware of his daughter's abysmal artistic skills. How can anyone be unaware? It was nothing short of a tragic sight. He chuckled awkwardly and picked up the blueprint again, scrutinizing it closely. Plasma propulsion system, capable of accelerating to Mach 3 instantaneously. Multispectral scanner, able to lock onto targets under infrared, night vision, and electronic interference. Alloy spine on the back, equipped with dozens of miniature missile pods. Concealed beneath armor and capable of protruding during combat to launch missiles. Concealed high-energy laser emitter at the mouth, capable of penetrating targets within a 10-kilometer range instantly. With each detail he examined, Wang Zhan's mouth widened further, and his eyes grew rounder with astonishment. Incredible! At that moment, he lamented his lack of eloquence, unable to articulate his admiration adequately. It was no exaggeration to say that had it not been for its slightly slower speed, he might have believed this to be a revolutionary aerospace combat vehicle, a paramount national treasure. He trembled as he wiped away the beads of sweat. his excitement and shock crashing over him like relentless waves, reshaping his understanding. If all this could be realized, the outer space of Blue Star would become the backyard of the Dragon Nation. What reconnaissance satellites, what espionage spacecraft, what divine rods, be gone. My goodness. The curvature of its form, those talons, the commanding presence. It was utterly magnificent. Indeed, I share the same sentiment. With such comprehensive functionality, it surpassed anything I'd ever heard of in military technology. Surely, I resonate with that feeling. Several subordinates snapped back to reality, their breaths coming in fits and starts. They had previously refrained from interrupting Jiang Yi, fearing they might disrupt his train of thought. Should this blueprint prove authentic, they would become pariahs of the Dragon Nation, living a lifetime burdened by guilt. Ding successfully astonished the warden and his trio, earning 400 astonishment points. Viang Yi similait faintly. He was well aware of the allure of the Golden Crow. May I inquire, upon witnessing such advanced military equipment, reminiscent of the mythical beasts of the Dragon Kingdom, which citizen of the Dragon Kingdom could remain indifferent? Wang Zhen stuffed a handful of anti-hypertensive medication into his mouth, suppressing his heart, which was about to leap from his chest, and grasped Jiang Yi by the collar. Young man, I ask you, how many of these designs can truly be realized? Jiang Yi smiled faintly and held up his hand, forming a gesture of 10. How many? 10? Wang Zhen exhaled, yet a subtle sense of disappointment lingered in his heart. 10 is commendable. At least it indicates some feasibility, if the Supreme Research Institute continues to study it. The reproduction rate might exceed 30%. Nonetheless, even a simplified version would serve as a deterrent to the Eagle Nation. For the Jinwu, one satellite killer, I can guarantee a success rate of 100%. Jiang Yi's hand instantly clenched into a fist, a surge of innate confidence striking Wang Zhen's mind. However, Jiang Yi's subsequent words sent another tremor through him. This is merely the Jinwu 1. In the future, there will be a Jinwu 2, Jinwu 3, each progressively more formidable. Our Dragon Kingdom shall ascend as the sovereign of low Earth orbit, and no enemy satellites shall grace our skies. How could others rest peacefully beside a sleeping giant? The Dragon Kingdom has been dormant for far too long, and this colossal dragon is beginning to awaken. Let us astound the world with this satellite killer. His tone was unassuming, as if he were stating an established fact, compelling Wang Zhen to acquiesce. He couldn't help but ponder. If this young man is not deceiving, then is there truly a need to steal the J-35 blueprints? A talent of such extraordinary caliber as his deserves every opportunity the Dragon Kingdom can provide. Be it resources, glory, or power, all shall be at his disposal. This matter has transcended the authority of a mere prison warden. It must be reported to the higher-ups without delay. Wang Zhen waved his hand decisively. Halt the execution. We shall await the Research Institute's verification of the blueprint's authenticity. Assist me in contacting the Military Technology Research Institute in Shunshu. And, he paused, glancing at Jiang Yi, forcing a smile that was less than pleasant. Arrange for this young man to be moved to a single cell. Something more comfortable. Chapter 4. Submission of the design blueprints to the Research Institute. Dare you underestimate it? At the Equipment Research Department of the Shunshu Military Technology Research Institute, Director Li Yunfei lounged in his office chair, engrossed in scrolling through short videos. Only 30 seconds remained until the end of the workday. Several material suppliers awaiting bids lingered outside, and it had been agreed that he would guide the work in the V-888 private room of Tianshang Renjian that evening. As the head of the Equipment Research Department, it was imperative to exemplify diligence, capability, and a strong work ethic. As for the bidding, it would depend on who executed their tasks more proficiently that night. Just then, the telephone on his desk rang, shattering his reverie. Li Yunfei Fronat. Who dared to disturb the leisure of this director? Li Yunfei glanced at the caller ID, only to find an unfamiliar local number. It was likely yet another vendor, calling after the bidding meeting had concluded. How utterly unappreciative of the situation. He casually dismissed the call, lit a cigarette, and began to ponder. The 88 model had grown tiresome. Perhaps he should switch to the 18? That young lady from last time had certainly piqued my interest. Suddenly, the phone on the desk rang once more, and with irritation. He answered. Hello, this is the military prison of Shunshu. We're off duty. Any matters can wait until tomorrow. Click. Li Yunfei hung up, frowning. What business does the military prison have calling me? They can't possibly concern themselves with my affairs. He dressed and retrieved a few blue pills from the drawer. Tonight, he intended to stay awake all night. But just then, the phone rang again. This time, he was thoroughly exasperated. The top-tier escorts were in high demand, and if he delayed, he might miss out. He seized the phone and barked, I told you we're off duty. Do you not have ears? Xiao Li. Please bring the facts you just printed in your office to mine, came a cold voice from the other end before the call was abruptly terminated. The familiar tone sent a shiver down Li Yunfei's spine. It was Director Chun. Director Chun was an esteemed academician in aerospace at the Dragon National Academy of Sciences, renowned for having received numerous international invention awards, and was known for his stern demeanor. If he had incurred his wrath, how could he possibly continue at the research institute? He resolved to perform well, presenting the blueprints for the military transport vehicle he had prepared for the invention competition to appease Director Chin. Perhaps that would quell his anger. It was a shame about the social gathering tonight. Without a moment's hesitation, he turned to the dusty fax machine in the corner, realizing that it had unexpectedly printed a blueprint. Let me see what is of such significance that it warranted a personal call from Director Chun. Li Yunfei picked up the document and focused intently on it. Design blueprint for the Jinwu. One satellite killer. He couldn't help but chuckle. A satellite? Did they think satellite technology was as common as cabbage? Do they understand that among the over 200 countries on Blue Star, only a handful possess the capability to develop and design satellites? Just 9. Not to mention that even if they pooled together all the technological prowess of the Shunshur Military Science Research Institute, they wouldn't be able to produce one. Equipment such as satellites, ballistic missiles, nuclear submarines, and aircraft carriers are solely the purview of the most prestigious research institutes. Even Li Yunfei, the esteemed director of equipment, had only ever designed a transport vehicle. Those inmates in the prison, every single one of them, could scarcely comprehend the blueprint, let alone design a satellite. It was utterly ludicrous. Truly, they displayed a complete lack of common sense. It was nothing short of comedic. This contraption is reminiscent of the hydraulic automobiles of yesteryears. It appears sophisticated. It is merely a facade. Director Chun seems to have lost his discernment, unable to recognize counterfeit. If this blueprint were genuine, I might as well resign from my post as the director of equipment. With a casual motion, Li Yunfei crumpled the blueprint and tucked it into his pocket before cautiously extracting the design of the all-terrain troop carrier, which he cherished dearly, from the bookshelf. He hurriedly made his way to the director's office. In the director's office, Director Chun sat behind his desk, reflecting on the words spoken by Wang Zhen over the phone. A talent capable of designing a satellite killer had emerged from the prison. He had known Wang Zhen for quite some time, back when Wang Zhen was still serving. He was an elite member of the Lanya Special Forces. On one occasion, while attending an academic exchange, he was taken hostage by terrorists, and it was Wang Zhen who saved his life and escorted him back to their homeland. Since then, they had formed a bond that transcended generations. Based on his understanding of Wang Zhen, he knew he would never lie. There were only 2 possibilities. Either a prodigious talent had indeed emerged from the prison, or Wang Zhen had been deceived. He hoped it was not the latter. Director Chen sighed quietly. Although Longhua had been striving to catch up, and its international stature had been rising, it faced technological blockades imposed by the Western Alliance led by the Eagle Nation, resulting in various technological bottlenecks. Particularly in aerospace, not only was technological exchange restricted, but even participation in the International Space Station was denied to Longhua. The rapid ascent of Longhua had instilled fear in them. They worried that Longhua would become powerful enough to settle old scores, hence they devised means to stifle its development. In the face of such arduous circumstances, many talents nurtured by Longhua had chosen to seek opportunities in the Eagle Nation, never to return. Sigh. In that moment, Director Chun felt as though he had aged several years. Old Qian, Old Zhou, Old Zhu, those of us from the older generation have departed. Who knows if the next generation can uphold the banner of Longhua's scientific research? Knock, knock, knock. Guomin. Upon seeing Li Yunfei enter, Director Chun composed himself. His gaze turned icy. Ah, little Li, Director Li, you wield quite the authority. Allow me to remind you that, as a researcher, one must never forget their original aspirations. Where is the blueprint? Show it to me. Li Yunfei promptly handed over the design of the all-terrain troop carrier. Director Chun. This all-terrain troop carrier is the result of my extensive research into the structures and combat data of various countries' troop carriers, painstakingly designed after much effort. With 8mm thick armor, it can withstand rocket fire. A 12-cylinder engine allows a speed of up to 100 km/h, and a small turret mounted on the roof provides defensive capabilities. I implore you to take a look and see if there are any areas for improvement. Director Chun furrowed his brow. This was not the design he sought. However, in the spirit of responsibility towards his work, he suppressed his displeasure and began to examine it closely. After a moment, he set aside the blueprints and coldly remarked, "Isn't this design merely a hodgepodge of the Gallic Rooster and the Bear's military transport vehicle? Did you think I wouldn't notice? If you cannot present anything that truly captivates me, I may have to reconsider your position as the director of Equipment Division." Li Yunfei, drenched in sweat, nodded repeatedly in agreement, yet inwardly seethed with indignation. What is wrong with a hodgepodge? Wasn't it crafted through my diligent efforts? If you disregard it, just wait until I present it to the Americans. They will surely appreciate it. Dean Shun ignored Li Yunfei and pressed on. Where's the blueprint I requested? Not this one, but the one sent from the military prison in Shunsheng. A chill ran down Li Yunfei's spine as he realized the gravity of the situation. Trembling, he extracted the crumpled blueprint from his pocket and spread it out on Dean Shen's desk. Dean Shen frowned, suppressing his dissatisfaction as he slowly smoothed the wrinkled paper. After merely glancing at it, he inhaled sharply, his eyes instantly sharpening. This blueprint, Chapter 5, surpassing the achievements of thousands with one's own power. Noticing Dean Shen's unusual expression, Li Yunfei chuckled awkwardly. Dean Shun, I knew at first glance that this blueprint was a deception. You must consider, how could a mere prison possibly design something as advanced as a satellite killer? I've seen this many times. It's undoubtedly some inmate trying to concoct an invention to reduce their sentence. They think creating a satellite is so simple, they cannot fool my discerning eyes. I, Li Yunfei, am the guardian of our institute. No phantoms shall pass beyond my watch. He boasted, attempting to salvage his image before Dean Shun, oblivious to the tempest brewing within the latter. It was utterly inconceivable. Dean Shun caressed the blueprint, murmuring to himself. Li Yunfei's eyes brightened, and he interjected, Dean Shun, let us not lose our temper. At worst, we can issue a statement declaring that we will never accept inventions sent from the prison. The method for producing superalloy materials could indeed be like this. The solar energy lossless conversion technology that has perplexed the world for years. Our previous approach was entirely flawed. Listening to Dean Shun's mutterings, Li Yunfei's expression gradually stiffened. Was Dean Shun genuinely studying the contents of the blueprint? This was absurd. How could he believe such an obvious fabrication? Li Yunfei cautiously glanced into Dean Shen's eyes, searching for signs of confusion. Instead, he found a spark of burgeoning excitement. Dean, are you all right? Dean Shun shook his head, now too absorbed in his thoughts to concern himself with Li Yunfei. A storm of exhilaration surged within him. If these technologies could indeed be replicated from the blueprint, the aerospace research capabilities of the Dragon Nation would experience monumental advancement. However, it is precisely for this reason that he began to harbor doubts regarding the authenticity of the blueprint. How could a mere death row inmate, confined within the prison walls, possibly accomplish a technology that even the Supreme Research Institute, comprising all of Long Country's elite scientific minds, had failed to achieve? Throughout his life, he had encountered countless individuals who fancied themselves geniuses, yet it was those very individuals who had deemed him a genius. He could not fathom that anyone could truly possess such extraordinary talent, capable of eclipsing the entire scientific prowess of Long Country single-handedly. Such a notion was utterly preposterous. Director Chun, perplexed, ultimately made a phone call. Hello, I request the activation of the 6th chapter super quantum computer. Yes, I require it immediately. After hanging up, he strode towards the door. Li Yunfei, since you have also laid eyes upon the blueprint, you may accompany me. Let us investigate the veracity of this blueprint together. Li Yunfei hurriedly followed, his mind a tempest of thoughts. The 6th chapter super quantum computer was, aside from the 9th chapter super quantum computer, the most powerful quantum computer in Long Country, with only a handful in existence. Typically, it was not accessible for any but the most critical scientific inquiries. Only Director Chun had the authority to employ it in the entirety of Shin City. Yet today, for the sake of a mere blueprint, Director Chun had requested the activation of the 6th chapter super quantum computer. This was madness, pure madness. Amidst Li Yunfei's totic musings, the two arrived at the 5th basement level of the Research Institute. Four soldiers stood guard there, saluting as the two approached. Please verify your fingerprints and irises. After Director Chun underwent verification on both devices, the soldiers finally granted them passage. Grant Director Li temporary access. The 3-meter-thick steel door began to open slowly, revealing the 6th chapter super quantum computer concealed behind it. Welcome, Director Chun. Director Li, a gentle female voice emanated from the computer's artificial intelligence assistant. 6th chapter. Please analyze the technology depicted in this blueprint and provide the reproduction rate. Director Chun placed the blueprint on the scanner, and with a soft white glow, the entire document materialized on the 6th chapter screen. Beginning analysis. Solar energy lossless conversion technology under examination. Plasma ultra-high-speed propulsion technology under examination. Current technological level 2 advanced. Switching to overload computation mode. Accompanied by a series of urgent alarms, the temperature within the room began to rise steadily. Stealth technology under examination. Li Yunfei, drenched in sweat, paced anxiously, while Director Chen remained still, his gaze fixed intently on the screen. Too advanced a technological level? A glimmer of insight flashed in his eyes. Only true national treasures, such as ballistic missiles, aircraft carriers, nuclear submarines, and satellites, warranted the 6 chapters overload computation. If his skepticism regarding the blueprint had previously stood at 80%, it had now plummeted to 30%. The 6th chapter could not deceive. This blueprint must indeed be authentic. The remaining 30 represents his skepticism regarding the feasibility of the technologies depicted in the blueprints. Indeed, he feared that with the current industrial capabilities of Longhua, it would be impossible to fully replicate the designs. After a grueling half-hour, Liu Zhang finally managed to painstakingly analyze all the technologies. Technology replication rate, 100, authenticated as genuine. Gazing at the large, bold lines of text on the screen, Li Yunfei stood in a daze. Impossible, absolutely impossible. How could a mere death row inmate possibly conceive such advanced military equipment? It is well known that the Eagle Nation assembled a research team of thousands to explore aerospace technology. Yet now, a single individual, armed only with a blueprint, has surpassed the exhaustive efforts of countless researchers toiling day and night. Is he mad, or is the world itself deranged? Dean Shin's eyes brimmed with tears of joy. Wonderful. Splendid. The aerospace endeavors of Longhua are saved. Eagle Nation and the Western Alliance, let us see you try to impose another blockade. Even if you do, it cannot hinder the relentless spirit of our researchers in Longhua. From this point forward, we shall no longer be constrained by your petty tactics in outer space. You claim to be poor? With this, I shall turn your lament into genuine despair. Dean Shun felt a weight lifted from his chest, an indescribable relief washing over him. Tonight, he would gather with his old comrades for a celebratory drink. After so many years, he could finally hold his head high. Xiaoli, would you care to join? In his excitement, Dean Shin regarded Li Yunfei with newfound warmth. I think I'll pass, Li Yunfei replied nervously, hurriedly stuffing his phone back into his pocket. Dean Shin furrowed his brow and snorted disdainfully. Xiaoli, you may as well head home. Your clearance does not allow you to remain here. Li Yunfei nodded eagerly and exited the control room of Liu Zhang. Just then his phone vibrated softly, a message illuminating the screen. Continue the observation. Once verified by our side, 500,000 will be deposited into your account. The Eagle Nation will not shortchange you. Sender, Eagle Nation Intelligence Bureau. Chapter 6. Eagle Nation Intelligence Bureau stunned. We cannot develop. Eagle Nation, 5-sided tower, Intelligence Bureau office. Director Powell took a bite of a freshly made burger, casually picking up the latest intelligence reports. Longhua is exerting pressure on the Philippines, condemning them for supplying stranded vessels in Longhai. The White Elephant S rocket launch has failed again, and the Air Force commander has been killed. The White Elephant is restlessly planning to blockade the Babiang water source and initiate the 4th Elephant-Sheep War. He stretched lazily, a look of disdain on his face. Merely trivial intelligence. Is there nothing here to truly pique my interest? As the hegemon of Blue Star, the movements of ordinary weak nations fail to capture his attention. Only the secrets of a select few major powers are worthy of his consideration. This is precisely why the Eagle Nation is willing to invest hundreds of billions annually in nurturing domestic talents. For instance, the recent revelation of the J-35 blueprints from the highest echelons of the Dragon Nation astonished several companies that pride themselves on being aviation oligarchs for an extended period. Director, there's breaking news. The intelligence officer, Annie, hurriedly brought forth a document. Annie, what is the paramount quality of an intelligence officer? Her subordinate promptly stood at attention. As an intelligence officer, one must possess absolute psychological stability, ensuring composure regardless of the circumstances. Excellent. Join me in my quarters tonight. I shall teach you how to steady your heartbeat. After imparting this lesson, Powell perused the document, his brow gradually furrowing with concern. When did this information surface? Half an hour ago, Annie replied, her expression grave. The Dragon Nation's lower echelons reported that in response to our recently unveiled anti-missile system, they have developed a satellite killer dubbed Golden Crow. As Annie spoke, Powell's countenance darkened ominously. Damn that Dragon Nation. Why can't they simply accept their role as a harvested nation? Why must they oppose the great Eagle Nation? Is the information reliable? What is its authenticity? Annie hesitated, struggling to articulate upon receiving the news. I immediately contacted a senior official from the Dragon Nation's Supreme Research Institute, who claimed to have never heard of any satellite killer. Powell remained silent, fixated on the document in his grasp, his expression shifting between fury and disbelief. The report indicated that the individual responsible for developing this satellite killer is a death row inmate in the military prison of Shun City, named Jiang Yi. Have we investigated this individual? Annie cleared her throat, swiftly recalling the details about Jiang Yi. Jiang Yi, a 22-year-old from Shun City, is a recent graduate of the Dragon Nation's GF Technology University. Due to his exceptional academic performance, he secured a position at the Supreme Research Institute immediately upon graduation. Ironically, he was framed by our highest-level operatives for stealing the J-35 blueprints and sentenced to death. He is currently incarcerated in Shun City Military Prison. At this juncture, Powell interrupted Annie. Are you suggesting that the creator of the satellite killer is a mere 22-year-old, fresh out of school? Preposterous. Powell sprang to his feet, pointing an accusatory finger at Annie. You fool. Do you have any idea what a satellite killer entails? Is it merely a rat scurrying around your building? We too once contemplated developing a satellite killer, but found the challenges insurmountable. Even just supplying energy to the satellite killer posed a monumental issue. Ultimately, the research had to be suspended. Do you honestly believe that a casual sketch by a 22-year-old from the Dragon Nation could rival the collective efforts of countless brilliant minds from the Great Eagle Nation? He forcefully cast the document at Annie, spitting his words in indignation. Furthermore, how could such sensitive information possibly be known by a mere subordinate? In my opinion, this must be the handiwork of the Dragon Nation's War Terror Bureau, deliberately disseminating false information, causing us to be on high alert. This insider is likely already compromised. Seize the opportunity to eliminate him. His tone was utterly casual, as if extinguishing an ant underfoot without a care. From now on, meticulously vet such trivial insider information. Do not place faith in matters devoid of any semblance of logic, rather than believing in such implausible occurrences. One would be better off investigating the movements of the triangular aircraft rumored in the Dragon Kingdom. After dismissing Annie, Powell plopped back into his chair, relishing another delectable hamburger. Damn, could there not be any news that would truly captivate my attention? Military prison in Shun City, cell number 4. Jiang Yi reclined comfortably on the single bed, basking in the cool breeze, indulging in a leisurely stretch. Ever since Wang Zhun transmitted the blueprints to the Shun City Military Research Institute, he had been assigned to cell number 4. This solitary confinement not only afforded him solitude, but also came equipped with a bookshelf, a fan, a television, and even a private bathroom. No longer enduring the snores, foot odor, or unnecessary troubles of fellow inmates, it could be described as an opulent retreat. To possess such a cell within a prison is a privilege that many inmates could scarcely dream of. Typically, such accommodations are reserved for notorious criminals of high stature. And now, he too enjoyed this privilege. Most importantly, his death sentence had been suspended. Until the Research Institute's examination results were revealed, his execution was postponed. This was undoubtedly a morale booster for Jiang Yi. Ding successfully shocked the academicians of the Dragon Kingdom and the low-level insider of the Eagle Nation, earning 1050 shock points. Ding successfully shocked the liaison officer of the Eagle Nation Intelligence Bureau, earning 500 shock points. Current shock points, 2050. Jiang Yi clenched his fists, secretly rejoicing. Perhaps by the moment the Golden Crow is manufactured, he would accumulate enough shock points to elevate to Level 2. Level 1 technology is already formidable. One wonders what Level 2 technology could entail. Aerospace carrier? Kumbahobo? Spaceships? Or even more powerful equipment? As he gazed at the details displayed on the panel, a glimmer of concern crossed Jiang Yi's eyes, his brows furrowing gradually. A low-level insider from the Eagle Nation Intelligence Bureau? They had learned of the satellite killer's existence immediately after the blueprints were taken for testing. This indicated that there was an insider within the Shun City Military Technology Research Institute. Moreover, this insider must occupy a significant position. Otherwise, how could they be in league with the academicians of the Dragon Kingdom? Had the infiltration by the Eagle Nation become so severe? After a prolonged period of contemplation, he resolved to exercise caution regarding matters pertaining to the Golden Crow. No heavyweight figures outside of the Dragon Kingdom shall be shown the complete prototype. At that moment, footsteps echoed in the corridor of the cell. Dean Shun, Colonel Zhao, and Jiang Yi were just ahead. The footsteps drew nearer, and several individuals appeared outside the cell door. Wang Zhun stood smiling beside an elderly gentleman, whose keen gaze was fixed intently upon him. On the opposite side stood a middle-aged man clad in military attire, proudly displaying 2 stars on his shoulder. The middle-aged man scrutinized Jiang Yi, his voice icy as he inquired, "Are you Jiang Yi?" Jiang Yi felt a shiver under his gaze. Yet the man suddenly broke into a smile. "Allow me to introduce," he began. "This is Director Chun, the esteemed head of the Military Science Research Institute of Shanshi, a distinguished academic of the Dragon Nation. I am Zhao Yuqian, a special envoy from the Northern Battle Zone Command. We have come specifically to meet the genius capable of designing the formidable weapon, Jinwu. We also wish to extend an invitation for you to represent Liaoning Province in the Triennial Northern Battle Zone Military Technology Invention Competition. Should you manage to produce the Jinwu within a month, I will personally advocate for your sentence reduction." Chapter 7. Death Sentence with a Deferred Execution. the satellite assassin to be crafted by you. The Northern Battle Zone Military Technology Invention Competition. Jiang Yi had previously spent time at the Supreme Research Institute and was familiar with this prestigious event. It is the highest-level competition held across all battle zones, second only to the invention contests organized by the Supreme Research Institute itself. Every 3 years, the 5 major battle zones, East, West, South, North, and Central, host a military technology invention competition aimed at fostering collaboration and knowledge exchange among military research institutions, enabling them to learn from each other and innovate advanced equipment. The Supreme Research Institute dispatches distinguished academics and battle zone commanders to serve as judges. Their mere insights are invaluable. Moreover, the projects that win the competition receive preferential resources from the Supreme Research Institute, prompting all institutions to present their most cutting-edge research outcomes, eager for recognition. The prospect of being invited to such a fierce competition, where talent abounds, was astonishing to Jiang Yi. Zhao Yutian smiled gently and retrieved a document from his pocket, reading aloud before Jiang Yi. Northern Battle Zone Order. Special Part Number 0666 for prisoner Jiang Yi. Death sentence deferred for 1 month. Permitting release on parole during the Northern Battle Zone Military Technology Invention Competition to participate in confidential project development. If he secures the first prize, his sentence may be commuted to life imprisonment. With the sincerity of both Director Chun and Zhao Yutian evident, Jiang Yi felt compelled to respond. I am deeply grateful for the Dragon Nation's consideration. I shall dedicate myself fully to this military technology invention competition. Upon hearing Jiang Yi's affirmation, Director Chun laughed heartily. Excellent, excellent. Without further delay, we shall proceed with your parole paperwork. We can discuss the specifics at the Research Institute. Rest assured, all resources available at the Shunshur Military Science Research Institute will be directed towards the Jinwu project. State your needs plainly. We have everything you require. With the assurances from a Northern Battle Zone and Director Chun, the parole formalities were swiftly completed. The 3 of them drove to the vicinity of the Shunshur Military Science Research Institute. To the north of the institute lies the Military Equipment Testing Base, the most heavily guarded section of the entire research facility. It is by no means an exaggeration to say that there is a sentry every 10 steps. As the largest research base in the entire Liaoning province, it also serves as an experimental ground for various classified military projects. Within a sprawling area of 10,000 acres, an array of secret military products, never before exhibited on Blue Star, can be seen everywhere. Tanks, aircraft, naval vessels, and missiles abound. The trio entered the inner sanctum of the base. Dean Shun escorted Jiang Yi to a secluded conference room. Upon entering, Jiang Yi was astonished to find a room filled with researchers. Li Yunfei was among them, responsible for logistics. At that moment, jealousy consumed him. How could a mere 22-year-old be appointed as the chief designer and chief engineer of such a crucial project? He had labored at the Military Science Academy in Shunsheng for over a decade without such an opportunity. No, I must inform Eagle about the initiation of the Golden Crow project. Eagle will undoubtedly reward me handsomely. As for what Eagle intends to do with Golden Crow, that is of no concern to me. Li Yunfei Buwasilanli. Good day, Dean Shun. Upon the entrance of the trio, the crowd greeted in unison. The scene was so overwhelming that even in his past life, Jiang Yi had never encountered anything like it. He stood there, speechless, astonished. Observing Jiang Yi's expression, Dean Shun couldn't help but chuckle inwardly. Finally, something has managed to astonish you, young man. With a grand gesture, Dean Shun commanded attention, exuding an air of authority. He had already briefed everyone about Jiang Yi's situation. From this day forth, Jiang Yi would assume the roles of chief designer and chief engineer for the project. I hereby announce the official commencement of the Golden Crow project. We must prepare for the military technology invention competition in the Northern Battle Zone in 1 month. Instantly, the entire experimental base buzzed with activity. Cutting-edge instruments and production tools were dispatched to the interior of the base. Jiang Yi also settled into the facility. Considering Jiang Yi's restricted movements during his probation, Dean Shun had thoughtfully arranged a bedroom for him within the base. Although his movements were limited, Jiang Yi felt grateful for Dean Shun's kindness. The conditions here were undoubtedly far superior to those in prison. The following day, he commenced with project deployment. Director Li, could you come over here for a moment? Li Yunfei hurriedly approached, smiling as he inquired, General Jiang, how may I assist you? Please help me procure some praseodymium oxide. Approximately 10 tons. I need to begin the development of a new type of superalloy material, Jiang Yi instructed. Upon hearing Jiang Yi's words, Li Yunfei's heart trembled. Praseodymium oxide? The most expensive among rare earth elements? He actually required rare earth materials. It is worth noting that rare earths are extremely scarce strategic resources on the entire Blue Star. They are frequently utilized in various advanced military products and are core materials for precision-guided weapons, radar systems, and other equipment. Almost every high-tech weapon bears the hallmark of rare earth elements. The vast majority of the exploitable rare earth mines on Blue Star are located in the Dragon Nation. Consequently, the Military Science Academy in Shun City possesses approximately 15 tons of these resources. However, could you refrain from discussing rare earth elements as if they were mere cabbages on the street, casually demanding 10 tons? 10 tons of praseodymium oxide is worth over 5 million Eagle coins. What is more critical is that over the past few years, the praseodymium oxide at the Academy has been quietly sold off by him, amounting to more than 10 tons. The remaining stock is far from sufficient to meet the 10-ton demand. Will he find the means to replenish this shortfall? If Director Chun were to discover this, not only would he be expelled from the research institute, but he might also lose his life. Is he supposed to withdraw the several million he has just acquired and pay an even greater price to buy it back? Contemplating this, Li Yunfei felt an overwhelming urge to retch. General Jiang, the praseodymium oxide in the Academy is stored in the neighboring city. Give me 3 days, and I will arrange for some to be transferred. Li Yunfei managed to suppress the agony of his impending financial loss and spoke with a grimace. Fine, but must be expedited. Time waits for no one. Observing Li Yunfei's troubled demeanor, Jiang Yi couldn't help but feel perplexed. Was it merely a matter of acquiring some praseodymium oxide? Why the theatrics, as if he had lost a father? It was not even his own. Ding! Successfully shocked the low-level Eagle Insider, earning 100 shock points. Upon receiving this notification, Jiang Yi's pupils constricted sharply. A low-level Insider. At that moment, only Li Yunfei was at his side. This implied that Li Yunfei was indeed the Eagle Insider who had initially shocked Director Chun. Well, Li Yunfei, you have concealed your true identity remarkably well. Were it not for the system's added influence, he would never have surmised this. The director of equipment at the Shun City Military Science Academy, Li Yunfei, was actually an insider for the Eagles, and merely a low-level one at that. One can only imagine the extent of the Eagles' infiltration into the Dragon Nation. Government, war zones, research institutes, commerce, and civil society. How many Eagle Insiders are operating within various sectors, surveilling every move of the Dragon Nation? With this thought, Jiang Yi's fist clenched tightly. He had been nearly ensnared by a hidden Eagle Insider and faced death in prison. How could he not harbor a deep-seated hatred for these infiltrators? He yearned to confront Li Yunfei and expose him immediately, but after some contemplation, he decided to bide his time. Firstly, he had yet to gather concrete evidence of Li Yunfei's treachery. Secondly, retaining Li Yunfei for the moment was far more advantageous than revealing him outright. He could leverage him to relay false information to the Eagles, ultimately ensuring the successful emergence of the Golden Crow. Director Li, please hold on. Upon hearing Jiang Yi's words, Li Yunfei came to an abrupt halt. What trickery was this? He had already let slip 5 million. He hoped there wouldn't be further complications. A cryptic smile graced Jiang Yi's face. I miscalculated earlier. 10 tons of praseodymium oxide will not suffice. I require 15 tons. What? 15 tons? If one were to say that Li Yunfei felt as though he might vomit blood just moments ago, now he genuinely wished to collide headfirst into a wall. That General Jiang, is it not a tad excessive to demand 15 tons? He ground his molars, squeezing out that phrase between clenched teeth. Not excessive at all. Not in the slightest. I just perused the inventory list in the courtyard. There should indeed be 15 tons of praseodymium oxide, correct? Li Yunfei was instantly rendered speechless. The truth lay before him. He could hardly deny it. Could he? Yes. Splendid. In addition, I will also require 100 tons of titanium alloy and 30 tons of tungsten alloy. The titanium and tungsten alloys are paramount for fabricating the satellite killer armor. There can be no delays. I shall grant you 3 days. Can you procure everything? Li Yunfei inhalet sharply. 15 tons of praseodymium oxide was insufficient, and now an additional 100 tons of titanium alloy and 30 tons of tungsten alloy? Are you attempting to deplete the entire reserve of the Military Science Academy in one fell swoop? Yet, are titanium and tungsten truly of such critical importance? Li Yunfei turned to leave, a cold smile gracing his lips. This substantial expenditure shall be compensated with the intelligence from the Golden Crow. Dare to extort such a sum from me, and I shall observe whether you can indeed create this satellite killer once the Eagle's talons are unleashed. Chapter 8. The alloy formula shocks the Eagle. The Xuanwu alloy emerges Eagle Intelligence Bureau. Intelligence Officer Annie hurriedly dashed once more to Director Powell's side. Observing the heaving figure before him, breathless from urgency, Powell found his hot dog suddenly unappetizing. Oh, Annie, my dear Annie, what matter has you so flustered? Do you wish for me to conduct yet another lesson on psychological resilience? Annie did not engage, her expression grave as she presented Powell with a dossier. The low-level insider has just transmitted intelligence. The Dragon Kingdom has clandestinely initiated the satellite killer project, codenamed Golden Crow. Powell abruptly set down his hot dog, his demeanor shifting to one of grave seriousness. What? Wasn't the previous report a fabricated message from the Dragon Kingdom's Bureau of War Terror? Does this project truly exist? Annie replied solemnly. Indeed. According to the insider, the individual spearheading this classified project is none other than the death row inmate Jiang Yi, whom we previously investigated. At this juncture, she cast a complex glance at Powell. To be candid, had Powell not previously expressed indifference, the Eagle should have been fully prepared for such a significant development as the satellite killer. How could it have come to this state of panic? She regarded Powell's substantial beer belly and the girth of his waist that threatened to ensnare him in the chair. This gluttonous charlatan, were it not for his family's capital backing him, would he ever have attained such a position? According to the insider's report, we have already acquired the crucial materials necessary for manufacturing this satellite killer. However, they demand 10 million Eagle coins. Upon hearing this, Powell leapt from his chair as though he had stepped on a cat's tail. To hell with it. 10 million. A mere sum for an insignificant low-level insider. What justification does he have to demand such an amount? These despicable yellow-skinned swine, driven by greed and cowardice, would even betray their homeland for money. Were it not for their utility, I would scarcely deign to associate with them. He bit into a hot dog with fervor, pondering for a moment. An obscure death row inmate, a suddenly emerged satellite assassin, and a covert project hastily initiated. This intelligence was exceedingly peculiar, reminiscent of the handiwork of the Dragon Kingdom's Bureau of Counterterrorism. Ever since the emergence of the Bureau of Counterterrorism and the Bureau of Warfare Ignorance, the workload of the Eagle Nation's intelligence agency had surged tenfold. Yet, the intelligence gleaned was, in 9 out of 10 cases, utterly false. This infuriated the Eagle Nation's agency, fostering a deep-seated animosity toward the Bureau of Counterterrorism. Nevertheless, they dared not let their guard down. What if, amidst the plethora of falsehoods, a singular truth lay hidden? Faced with such a formidable adversary as the Dragon Kingdom, he could not afford to gamble. Should he miscalculate even once, his position as the director of the intelligence agency would be in jeopardy. Powell nodded in resignation. Damn it, let us grant him the 10 million. First, I must ascertain the nature of that crucial material. I shall personally report to the White Hall, and acknowledge the order and swiftly returned. The information was soon at hand. According to insider reports, the primary materials for manufacturing this Jinwu satellite assassin were titanium alloy and tungsten alloy, with praseodymium oxide as a supplementary material. Upon hearing an S report, Powell rose with a spark of excitement, striding toward the door without a backward glance. Well done, Anne. I shall ensure you receive your due credit for this achievement. Prepare the vehicle. I'm bound for the White Hall. Meanwhile, within the experimental base, he, as the chief designer of the Southgate Plan in his previous life, had grown exceedingly adept at orchestrating large-scale projects. Under his command, all tasks commenced in full swing. Equipment debugging, personnel deployment, engineering planning, and material transportation were all meticulously prepared. The project officially entered the manufacturing phase. Jiang Yi stood before the vacuum self-consumption electric arc furnace, directing the robotic arm to feed in chunks of praseodymium oxide, supplemented by a small quantity of titanium and tungsten alloys. After 4 hours, the first VAR smelting concluded. 12 hours later, following 3 rounds of smelting, the first batch of the new alloy material emerged. Once cooled, Jiang Yi examined a piece closely. The new alloy shimmered with a faint golden hue, easily mistaken for gold at first glance. Testing its compressive strength on the forging press left him astounded. With a compressive strength of 82 GPa, it was a staggering 40 times that of tungsten alloy. Witnessing this result, a triumphant grin spread across Jiang Yi's face. The Jinwu crafted from this new alloy would likely withstand even missile strikes. Moreover, the advent of this new alloy could be applied across various industries in the Dragon Kingdom, facilitating a significant industrial upgrade. In fields such as aviation, railways, casting, mining, and construction, this marks merely the initial step of the Golden Crow project. The researchers observing from the side gathered around, their eyes fixated on the alloy in Jiang Yi's hand, nearly drooling in anticipation. Mr. Jiang, may I have a look at that alloy? Let me see it first. I'm a lead researcher. I should see it first. As the head of the weapons research group, I should be the first to examine it. As the crowd's excitement escalated, Jiang Yi reluctantly handed over the alloy, prompting a frenzy of eager hands reaching for it. Was it really that remarkable? It was just an alloy. There would be more innovations to come, ensuring that their horizons would be broadened. The crowd, filled with enthusiasm, hurried to conduct tests on the new alloy. As they examined the data on the testing sheet, Gasps of astonishment fill the air. Compressive strength, 82 GPa. Hardness, 4000 HV. Fracture toughness, 561 MPa. And it is also a super lightweight alloy. The sheer magnitude of the data caused everyone to collectively inhale sharply, thinning the atmosphere in the venue. If this new alloy could be fashioned into armor, its protective capabilities would surpass that of the strongest depleted uranium composite armor known on the entire blue planet by a factor of 10. The Eagle Nation possesses absolute dominance in the manufacture of depleted uranium composite armor, exemplified by the armor of their M1A2 main battle tank, which employs this very material. Capable of withstanding nearly all frontal assaults from tanks and rockets available on the market. Meanwhile, due to the technological embargo and resource monopoly imposed by the Eagle Nation-led Western Alliance, the Dragon Nation has not adopted depleted uranium composite armor, resorting instead to ceramic composite armor. The performance of this armor in combat is significantly inferior to that of depleted uranium composite armor, leaving the Dragon Nation with no recourse. However, this predicament has now been completely shattered. With the near-exclusive availability of praseodymium oxide, combined with a modest amount of titanium and tungsten alloys, they can produce super armor that surpasses the protective performance of depleted uranium composite armor by tenfold. This is an extraordinary boon for the Dragon Nation. With this new alloy, the Dragon Nation will hold a decisive advantage in future disputes with neighboring countries. From this day forth, the technological blockade imposed by the Eagle Nation on the Dragon Nation will subtly begin to fracture, creating a window of opportunity. The newly developed alloy from the Dragon Nation is destined to become the most sought-after product in the arms market. Without exception, let us give it a name. Jiang, he said, glancing at the crowd still in shock, unable to regain their composure. What about praseodymium titanium alloy? Someone suggested. No, that is too obvious regarding the smelting method. Came a reply. How about calling it super divine alloy? Too cliched. What about super mighty alloy? You've been watching too many cartoons. The debate yielded no resolution, and the crowd turned their hopeful gazes toward the smiling, yet silent Jiang Yi. Mr. Jiang, as the creator of this alloy, you should personally name it. With the crowd's eager attention upon him, Jiang Yi smiled slightly. Let's call it Xuanwu. Chapter 9. Depleted uranium armor with tenfold protection. Secrets leaked. Xuanwu alloy. What a splendid name. Upon hearing it, I can almost envision the magnificent form of the mythical beast Xuanwu, standing resilient against the heavens. The emergence of Xuanwu alloy is undoubtedly a moment destined for the annals of history. The crowd, brimming with excitement, encircled Jiang Yi, their cheers resounding far and wide. Ding! Successfully astonished the researchers of Long Country, earning 1,000 astonishment points. Observing the genuine delight of these researchers, a warm current flowed through Jiang Yi's heart. With such devoted individuals striving for the prosperity of Long Country, how could there be any doubt of its flourishing future? I shall promptly report the manufacturing method and detailed parameters of Xuanwu alloy. You may continue your work. With that, Jiang Yi dialed Director Chen's number. Director Chen, the production of a new alloy has been completed. Soon, an elated Director Chen arrived at the experimental base, cradling the Xuanwu alloy as if tenderly caressing the head of his beloved granddaughter. Xuanwu alloy, it is named Xuanwu alloy. As he fondled it, tears of joy streamed down his face. At last, our Long Country possesses a superlative alloy that can stand at the pinnacle of the world. Eagle Sauce, Western Alliance. Do you not enjoy technological blockades? Let us see you try to impose another one. You think depleted uranium armor is impressive? Behold what I possess. The Xuanwu alloy armor is 10 times stronger and 10 times cheaper than yours. I declare that unless you are willing to pay a hefty price, do not even think of acquiring a fragment of it. Ha 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 ha! Ding! Successfully astonished Director Chun, earning 500 astonishment points. Typically as steady as a mountain, Director Chun was now a blend of laughter and tears, leaving Jiang Yi feeling a tightness in his chest. These elder researchers have endured so much for the prosperity of Long Country. They yearn to witness the moment when Long Country soars, standing atop the world. Rest assured, you shall see that moment soon. Jiang Yi silently vowed to swiftly acquire all the advanced technologies from the system, propelling Long Country to become the foremost power on Blue Planet. He would ensure that all who had ever belittled Long Country would understand the grave consequences of awakening a slumbering giant. Once Director Chun composed himself, he placed a hand on Jiang Yi's shoulder, his eyes filled with gratitude and pride. How fortunate we are to have a genius like you. Truly a blessing for Long Country. Individuals of your caliber must not languish in prison. Your battlefield should be in laboratories, in military factories, in realms where you can truly shine. After the competition, I will personally report your achievements to the higher-ups and advocate for your sentence reduction. For now, we must hasten the production of the Jinwu, allowing the higher-ups to witness the tangible results. Keep up the good work. I have great faith in you, young Jiang. Whistling a joyful tune, Director Chen gradually walked away, disappearing beyond the gates of the base, leaving Jiang to shake his head in exasperation. Was it truly necessary to be so elated over a mere new alloy? Once the Golden Crow is fully manufactured, one might need to prepare some anti-hypertensive medication, lest one inadvertently succumbs to overwhelming joy. To whom could I seek counsel in such a predicament? Li Yunfei, in his quest to gather the alloys required by Jiang, has seen his hair turn gray with worry over the past few days. He has clandestinely sold an excessive amount of materials over the years, and now Jiang, he has reclaimed them all in one fell swoop. To compound his frustration, the prices of these materials have surged significantly in recent years. Alas, even the 10 million eagle coins recently bestowed upon him have been squandered. After much toil, he directed a group of workers as they laboriously transported a plethora of materials. Observing the jubilant crowd, he was utterly bewildered. What transpired in just 3 days? What have I missed? Jiang, what are we celebrating? Li Yunfei inquired curiously as he approached Jiang Yi. Jiang Yi, noticing the eager expression on Li Yunfei's face, feigned sigh. Director Li, you have finally returned. I have awaited your presence with great anticipation. In your absence, after melting a substantial quantity of titanium alloy, we have successfully completed the production of the new alloy. However, our stock of titanium alloy has nearly depleted, which is quite distressing. Li Yunfei quickly interjected, what serendipity. I have just delivered 80 tons of titanium alloy and 25 tons of tungsten alloy. Surely, this alleviates our immediate predicament. Viang, you nodded empathically. Indeed, Director Li, you are of paramount importance to this project. Without you, our endeavor would likely falter. I dare say, Dean Shun should bestow upon you the position of chief engineer. We cannot neglect the contributions of such a vital figure. Jiang Yi's words filled Li Yunfei with immense satisfaction, causing him to feel quite elated. Why should we dwell on such matters, brother? Henceforth, let us refer to each other as siblings. I shall call you younger brother, and you shall call me older brother. Rest assured, your older brother will ensure you are well taken care of. Jiang Yi chuckled inwardly, pondering how Eagle Country found merit in someone with such a simple mind. Did they perhaps find his naive charm endearing? He patted Li Yunfei on the shoulder, nodding in agreement. Indeed, your younger brother shall never let his older brother down. He emphasized the word never, adding a playful inflection to shall. Li Yunfei, oblivious to any undertones in Jiang Yi's words, joyfully leaned in. Younger brother, since we now consider ourselves siblings, I must speak candidly. To be honest, I have quite the understanding of alloy materials. If you could share the manufacturing formula with me, I would be glad to lend my expertise and see if we can elevate it further. Jiang Yi suppressed a smirk, maintaining a facade of hesitation. Are you certain you wish to see it? This is classified information. Li Yunfei grew anxious. Fear not, older brother. I merely wish to take a glance. It shall remain strictly confidential. Should I betray this vow, may I never have a son. Yet, Jiang Yi still hesitated, ultimately exhaling a sigh. Brother, it is not that I doubt your credibility, but rather that this confidential information cannot be disclosed indiscriminately. This is a stringent rule, as you are well aware. If you truly wish to see it, you must assure me in person that you will keep it secret. Li Yunfei pounded his chest and stated with utmost seriousness, Li Yunfei, vowed to never divulge the manufacturing method of the new alloy. However, internally, he scoffed, thinking, you're far too inexperienced to challenge me. Verbal agreements have never held weight. What if I do disclose it? I intend to share it with the Americans and reap substantial rewards. Just wait and see as they produce the new alloy and slap you all in the face. Very well, since it has come to this, I shall reveal the manufacturing method of the new alloy to you. The titanium alloy ratio is 6,135, tungsten alloy ratio is 3,365, and praseodymium oxide ratio is 5. Utilizing an electron beam cold bed furnace with a 120 kilowatts electron beam alloy evaporation method, after 2 rounds of smelting, add 2 tons of explosives. After the detonation, the new alloy will emerge. Do you understand? Li Yunfei quickly committed the data mentioned by Jiang Yi to memory, nodding in acknowledgement. I understand, but I believe there is room for improvement in your method. Allow me to ponder it further. He hurriedly made his way out of the base, nearly leaping with joy. With this new alloy as leverage, he could secure a generous reward from the American Intelligence Agency. How much would be appropriate? Perhaps 100 million? Yet unbeknownst to him, Jiang Yi had retrieved his phone from his pocket and switched off the recording. Indeed, verbal agreements hold no legal weight. But that does not preclude me from reporting you as an insider for the Americans, does it? This fabricated information I have only shared with you. Chapter 10. Alloy data shocks the Americans. export equipment restricted in the White Hall of the Americans. Within the chief's office, the director of the intelligence agency, Powell, sat upright, flanked by Minister Whalon of the GF, while General AP, the chief of the Americans, sat across from them. Ever since learning that the Dragon Kingdom was truly engaged in the Golden Crow project, his visits to the White Hall had markedly increased. General AP glared coldly at Powell, demanding in a low voice, "What is the status of the confirmation regarding the Golden Crow project intelligence?" Since discovering that the Dragon Kingdom was developing countermeasures against the True-Por anti-missile system, he had been restless, unable to sleep through the night. The True-Por is a critical strategic initiative for the Americans to reinforce their global dominance and secure their position as the hegemon of Blue Star. Not only would it instill fear in other nations, but it would also significantly enhance the security of the American homeland. It is indeed an impregnable fortress. Just imagine enemy ballistic missiles being detected and intercepted by the Americans as they enter outer space, while their own missiles can strike any target without impediment. What a despairing scenario that is. However, mere days after the announcement of the true poverty situation in the media, astonishingly, there emerged foundational blueprints for countermeasures from the Dragon Nation. Absurd, utterly absurd. The magnificent Eagle Nation invested billions and spent a decade to deploy the true poverty missile defense system. How could it be so easily countered by the Dragon Nation? What is the Dragon Nation up to? Is this not a resounding slap in the face? As the leader of the Eagle Nation, his reputation is synonymous with that of the nation itself. He cannot afford to lose face. Should the investigation yield truth, the Jinwu project must be nipped in the bud at any cost. Upon hearing AP's inquiry, Powell quickly rose and cleared his throat. Leader, after extensive investigations over the past few days, even at the cost of exposing several operatives, we have finally discerned the specific intelligence regarding the Jinwu project. This initiative is spearheaded by the Military Science Academy of Shenyang, Liaoning Province, and its chief engineer and designer is a death row inmate named Jiang Yi. The Military Science Academy is placing immense importance on this project, to the extent of disregarding costs, providing any necessary materials unconditionally. From this perspective, the authenticity of the Jinwu project is assured. However, how much of the blueprints the Dragon Nation can successfully complete remains an enigma. After all, many of the technologies involved are beyond the reach of even us in the Eagle Nation, let alone the Dragon Nation, which has been under technological embargo for years. Thus, Powell paused, biting his jaw, and stated, "I still have reason to suspect that this is a deception orchestrated by the Dragon Nation's War Terror Bureau. It is a blatant scheme targeting the Eagle Nation's true poverty missile defense system. The objective is to incite panic, causing us to expend vast human and material resources investigating this matter, thereby slowing our research progress. Thus far, our operatives have yet to report back on the project status. It is likely that this project is a mere facade, devoid of substance." Leader AP leaned on the table, his face clouded in contemplation. He reminisced about the former Dragon Nation, sincere, gentle, peace-loving, eager to befriend all. Yet in recent years, the rapid development of the Dragon Nation has drawn the attention and hostility of major powers, transforming internal discord into external conflict. Amidst this shift in ideology, the Dragon Nation has evolved. No longer patient or gentle, it has become astute. This is evident from the increasingly assertive stance the Dragon Nation has adopted in recent years. What infuriated him further was the existence of the War Terror Bureau and the War Ignorance Bureau. Years ago, it was precisely because of the War Ignorance Bureau that the powers led by the Eagle Nation paid little heed to the movements of the Dragon Nation. By the time they reacted, the Dragon Nation had already caught up to their pace. The War Terror Bureau of recent years is a demonstration of the Dragon Nation's deterrent measures towards the major powers after adopting a hardline approach. Since the Dragon Nation is so ungrateful, let us obliterate their next ballistic missile test. After all, they lack surveillance satellites. We can simply claim it was the work of aliens. We shall not acknowledge it. What can he do to us? In the end, we will have no choice but to accept it begrudgingly. A chorus of raucous laughter erupted, as if they could already envision the futility and sorrow of the Dragon Kingdom's missiles failing to breach their own borders. Aper even summoned a glass of cola using the red button on the table, savoring it with delight. Just then, Powell's phone rang. Upon finishing the call, the mirth that once graced his face vanished completely. "Chief, we just received news from our insider. The Jinwu project has yielded results." Aper, caught off guard, sprayed his cola across the table, drenching Powell. "What did you say?" Powell, stifling the foul taste lingering in his mouth, relayed the message loudly. According to insider information, the Jinwu project had just successfully developed a new type of alloy. It is estimated that armor produced from it would surpass depleted uranium armor's protective capabilities by tenfold. It has been named Xuanwu alloy. With a startling clatter, The GF minister, Waylon, who had been silently puffing on his pipe, dropped it to the floor. My God, surpassing depleted uranium armor by 10 times. Those damn dragon people. This must be a false report. At the current level of technology, no one on Blue Planet can create armor that exceeds depleted uranium. The Great Eagle Sauce cannot accomplish what no one else can. Powell refrained from countering, his expression pained as he continued. The specific parameters and manufacturing methods for the Xuanwu alloy have been obtained by our insider. However, but what? Aper and Waylon inquired eagerly. This insider is asking for a staggering 100 million Eagle coins for the exact manufacturing method. My God, has he lost his mind? Aper could no longer remain seated, angrily shattering his glass of cola on the ground, his teeth clenched in fury. These greedy dragon people are taking advantage of the situation. Breathless, Aper took a moment to calm himself. Tell him that once we produce the Xuanwu alloy and verify the authenticity of the formula, we will transfer the funds. If the information is accurate, we will manufacture the finished armor before the Dragon Kingdom. We will file a patent application and subsequently take them to the United Nations for stealing our secrets. I want to show the world the consequences of opposing Eagle Sauce. What is that saying from the Dragon Kingdom? To steal a chicken and lose the rice. I shall demonstrate to all nations what it means to defy the Eagle Sauce. Following Powell's series of actions, the manufacturing method for the Xuanwu alloy was relayed to them. The composition was 61 titanium alloy, 33 tungsten alloy, and 5 praseodymium oxide. Using an electron beam cold bed furnace with a 120 kilowatts electron beam alloy evaporation method, after 2 rounds of smelting, 2 tons of explosives are to be added. Following the explosion, the new alloy will emerge. Minister Waylon hurriedly recorded the data on paper. Yet moments later, he suddenly broke into laughter. The foolish Dragon Nation. The development of this Xuanwu alloy is merely a wedding garment for the Eagle Sauce. The refining equipment for titanium and tungsten alloys is entirely reliant on imports from Eagle Sauce. Should the Dragon Nation wish to mass-produce Xuanwu alloy, it must import a substantial amount of refining equipment. If the export of refining equipment were to be severed, the Dragon Nation would find itself in a predicament, possessing materials yet unable to manufacture in large quantities. At that point, I shall make them kneel and beg us to sell our equipment. Chapter 11. Eagle Sauce preempt announcement of new alloy. Shocking the world, I shall transmit the manufacturing formula to the arms company. We must produce finished armor with the alloy before the Dragon Nation does. Minister Waylon of GF stood up and inquired with a smile. My lord, which company do you believe should be authorized to manufacture the new armor? AP looked at Waylon with a semblance of a smile, yet internally berated him. The Waylon Group is the largest arms manufacturing conglomerate in Eagle Sauce, producing nearly half of the nation's weaponry. By posing such a question, does he not explicitly seek to monopolize the tremendous profits generated from a Xuanwu alloy? My dear Waylon, although your family is immensely powerful in the military industry, the production of Xuanwu alloy primarily depends on a robust supply of raw materials. The domestic output of titanium and tungsten alloys in Eagle Sauce is severely lacking, forcing us to rely on imports. To my knowledge, the Waylon family has not invested significantly in foreign trade. It would be more prudent to entrust this to the AP Group, as we possess the largest foreign trade company in all of Eagle Sauce, capable of timely importing vast quantities of raw materials to ensure a steady supply. In comparison, the AP Group is far more qualified to manufacture this alloy. Wouldn't you agree? Upon hearing AP's words, Waylon was seething with rage, nearly grinding his teeth to dust. He snorted coldly. My lord, the AP Group lacks the capability to manufacture the alloy into usable armor. I believe your plans cannot do without the support of the Waylon Group. How about this? The AP Group supplies the raw materials, and the Waylon Group produces the finished products, with a division of profits of 64 to 36 in your favor. After all, only finished armor can fetch a good price, can it not? AP silently scoffed, spreading his hands and placing his fingers apart on the table. A 55% share is my absolute bottom line. If that is unacceptable, I would rather relinquish the manufacturing rights to Powell. Upon hearing AP's words, Powell was instantly overwhelmed with emotion. Have you two finally remembered me after all this time? My family is also quite formidable. He was about to interject when Waylon abruptly cut him off. Deal. The two pairs of hands clasped firmly together, utterly disregarding Powell's presence. Powell added, summon the director of the Material Research Center at Alpha University to verify the authenticity. Upon AP's command, Kruger, the director of the Material Research Center at Alpha University, soon appeared in the Lord's office. Upon seeing the manufacturing formula for the Xuanwu alloy in hand, Kruger's eyes gleamed with excitement. For a distinguished scientist of his caliber, the emergence of a novel alloy was as exhilarating as winning the lottery. He adjusted his glasses and promptly commenced his research. As the esteemed director of the Materials Center at AFO University, his expertise was beyond question. However, even with his years of experience, he had never encountered such a fantastical idea. Utilizing an electron beam cold bed furnace and a 120 kilowatts electron beam alloy evaporation method, coupled with 2 rounds of smelting. This methodology was indeed feasible. Yet, the addition of praseodymium oxide was a concept we had never contemplated, let alone the final step of introducing 2 tons of explosives into the electron beam cold bed furnace. My goodness, such an action would almost certainly result in a catastrophic explosion. Listening to Kruger's murmurs, AP interrupted his reverie without hesitation. The Dragon Nation had successfully manufactured this new alloy using this method, proving its viability. Our insider had been closely following the project and even held a significant position within it. The authenticity of this manufacturing formula can be assured. I specifically sought your expertise to explore how we could expedite the alloy's production. After a prolonged moment of contemplation, Kruger hesitantly spoke. My lord, even if you have confirmed the formula's authenticity, I will require extensive experimentation. Furthermore, to ensure the safety of the production process, I must establish a new experimental base dedicated solely to the research of this alloy. I request a special allocation of funds from the White Hall, approximately 10 billion Eagle coins. Stealing a glance at AP, Kruger felt a surge of ulterior motives. With this new alloy as leverage, the funding for his projects would swell immensely. He could even siphon a portion of it without detection. The only concern was material wastage. However, his daydream was ruthlessly interrupted by AP. Time is of the essence. We must develop the finished armor before the Dragon Nation does. Based on their project timeline, we have less than a month. Starting today, you will join the Military Research Department of the Whaling Group. I expect to see the first piece of alloy produced within 3 days. All foreign trade companies under the AP group will commence operations immediately, importing raw materials from various nations. The initial batches of titanium and tungsten alloys are expected to supply 100,000 tons. As for the praseodymium oxide, a small amount will be imported at a premium from the Dragon Nation. Once the new armor is completed, I intend to sell it back to them at a 100-fold price. To mitigate any risks, I will convene a press conference to announce our development plans to Blue Star, effectively severing the Dragon Nation's retreat. AP issued a series of commands, and Weyland responded promptly. The 30 arms companies under the Whaling Group will commence production upon receiving raw materials, ensuring sufficient finished armor is produced within a month. The two exchanged knowing smiles, both exuding confidence in their impending success. Soon, the 2 largest family conglomerates of Eagle Sauce would mobilize their full efforts. Hundreds of thousands of workers have been mobilized, and countless raw materials have been transported to the arms company under the Whaling Group. Almost half of the United States has been set into motion due to the Xuanwu alloy. The next day, AP held a press conference. The United States is developing a new type of alloy, and the finished armor produced will possess 10 times the protective capability of depleted uranium armor. We have named it Yeadman Metal. Upon hearing this proclamation, the world was astounded. Yeadman Metal? Those with keen interest searched online and were suddenly surprised to discover that it was the very material used to craft the shield wielded by Captain America in the American films. In the movies, Yeadman metal could withstand extreme pressure, temperatures, and radiation, rendering it indestructible, a veritable artifact. Yet, this was merely a fictional element of cinema. How could it possibly manifest in reality? Has American technology once again surged ahead? Truly, as the hegemon of Blue Star, it is terrifying indeed. Relying on its dominant position and formidable research capabilities, nations did not harbor doubts and promptly dispatched representatives to place pre-orders. In no time, Weyland's office was inundated with people, especially the Western Alliance, due to its alliance with the United States, placed an order worth billions directly. AP and Weyland could hardly contain their smiles. This wave of pre-orders netted them a staggering 500 billion Eagle coins. This amount is equivalent to the United States arms export for half a year. Although the penalty for overdue delivery is 300, is hardly a concern. Given the industrial capacity of the United States, such production levels can surely be achieved with ease. It was akin to a windfall of fortune. Deception and trickery indeed yield quick riches. AP even began to fantasize about the glorious moment when the United States, armed with this alloy, would hold dominion over all nations of Blue Star. Chapter 12. The American formula is a fake, but the truth is in our hands. In the Dragon Kingdom, the Supreme Research Institute, President Liu Jiangwo sat in a conference room surrounded by hundreds of academicians. With grave expressions, they gazed at the television broadcasting the American press conference. This meeting was convened specifically to address the newly announced Yeadman alloy. To this end, he had even recalled all the academicians from the Supreme Research Institute, underscoring the significance he placed on this new alloy. What insights do you have regarding the Yadmin metal recently announced by the United States? He surveyed the room, and the academicians immediately began to discuss among themselves. The research capabilities of the United States are unparalleled across Blue Star, and their ability to unveil a new alloy was entirely predictable. Indeed, while the United States may be shameless, its research prowess is undeniable. However, I remain skeptical about the capabilities of this Yadmin metal, given the current levels of material science. Unless there is a significant breakthrough in raw materials, no nation on Blue Star can manufacture it. In the past decade, there's been no news of any breakthroughs in material science. Therefore, I seriously suspect this is yet another piece of false information targeting the Dragon Kingdom. The intention is to compel us to expend great effort in research, thereby slowing our scientific progress. Amidst the discussions of the academicians, dissenting voices emerged. This is certainly not baseless speculation. The Eagles have abruptly announced a ban on the export of refining equipment for titanium and tungsten alloys. I believe this is intrinsically linked to the emergence of adamant metal. I have also observed that the Eagles have clandestinely increased their trade volume of titanium and tungsten alloys in recent days, publicly attributing this to an enhancement of aerospace production capacity. It is ludicrous, for Musk's Starlink project is already more than halfway complete, rendering the need for numerous rocket and satellite launches unnecessary. How could there possibly be a shortfall in capacity? Is this not a blatant attempt to obscure the truth? Recent reports indicate that the Eagles are secretly acquiring praseodymium oxide from the Dragon Kingdom at exorbitant prices. However, due to our stringent control over rare earth elements, they have only managed to procure a meager quantity. This clearly demonstrates that the Eagles are indeed taking significant actions in response to adamant metal. Silence. Liu Jiangwo raised his hand, and the conference room fell silent. Based on the recent actions of the Eagles, the authenticity of adamant metal can be confirmed. Furthermore, the increase in trade of raw materials by the Eagles suggests that the components of adamant metal are likely titanium and tungsten alloys, perhaps even some praseodymium oxide. Let us pool our collective intellect and ponder how we might replicate the manufacturing formula for adamant metal. As the pinnacle research institute of the Dragon Kingdom, we cannot allow our technological prowess to lag too far behind that of the Eagles. Falling behind invites aggression. I believe everyone present understands this principle. If we remain inactive, we will surely regret it when Dragon Kingdom projectiles strike Eagle tanks, leaving them unscathed. To ensure that the Dragon Kingdom does not find itself at a disadvantage when facing the Eagles in the future, we must devise a way to develop equivalent materials to adamant metal at any cost. This is a directive from the higher-ups. Upon hearing this, the conference room erupted into chaos once more. Replicating the formula? This is unequivocally impossible. A mere deviation of 0.001 in the ratios would yield entirely different results, not to mention the number of smelting processes required, the necessary temperatures, and so forth. Any error in these parameters could lead to catastrophic consequences. The Eagles have already prohibited the export of refining equipment. Even if we wish to develop our own, we would be constrained to the existing equipment, which consists of outdated models long discarded by the Eagles and utterly inadequate for our needs. This is a blatant conspiracy designed to frustrate us, leaving us only with the ability to observe, yet unable to engage. The academicians were embroiled in heated arguments when an unexpected laugh resonated through the conference room. Everyone turned towards the source of the laughter and discovered it was Director Chun from the Military Academy of Shenshi. Liu Jiangwo furrowed his brow and inquired, "Director Chun, do you have a differing opinion?" Director Chun adjusted his collar and replied with a smile, "Not at all. I merely find the Eagles to be quite laughable." Director Chun, what do you mean? If the Eagles are laughable, do we not appear equally absurd, being so utterly at a loss? The transformation of the Dragon Nation from a state of destitution to a formidable force on the Blue Planet is not the result of arrogance, but rather the culmination of our steadfast, methodical efforts. Blind hubris is ill-advised. We must not underestimate our adversaries. In an instant, the assembly of academicians turned their incredulous gazes upon President Chun, some even contemplating a complete severance of relations with him. I do not embody arrogance. Rather, I find amusement in the folly of Eagle sauce. The performance of our armor, surpassing that of depleted uranium by a factor of 10, incorporating titanium alloys, tungsten alloys, and praseodymium oxide. These specifications seemed familiar. It suddenly dawned on me that they echo the words of Jiang Yi, the chief engineer of our military technology competition project. This so-called adamant metal, or more accurately, Xuanwu alloy, is merely an ancillary research outcome of our Jinwu project at the Military Science Academy of Shin City. The so-called adamantium metal in their possession is, in fact, a mere imitation of the Xuanwu alloy, renamed for their convenience. Upon utterance of this declaration, the room fell into astonished silence. The academicians regarded President Chun with expressions of disbelief, questioning whether he was suffering from cognitive decline. We are well aware of the research capabilities of the Military Science Academy of Shin City. They are not particularly distinguished within the realm of scientific inquiry in the Dragon Nation. What was their ranking in the last military technology invention competition? They likely didn't even make it into the top 3. President Chun, we know you well. There is no need for you to inflate your reputation. With the meager resources at your disposal, developing a tank is already a formidable challenge. How could you possibly engineer such an advanced new alloy? As a veteran in the field of research, you should comprehend what the advent of a novel alloy signifies. It heralds a comprehensive industrial upgrade. Its applications extend beyond the military, representing a fortification of the entire industrial system. In every sector, who could possibly do without it? We recognize your unwavering dedication to the Dragon Nation, but such monumental matters should not be approached with naivety. The assemblage of academicians chimed in, united in their skepticism. President Chen's eyes narrowed, and he pointed an accusatory finger at the group, exclaiming vehemently, "You all lack confidence." Indeed, decades ago, the Dragon Nation was impoverished. Yet through the relentless toil of successive generations, we have long since shed the mantle of backwardness. The scientific prowess of the Dragon Nation is not as feeble as you may presume. Upon hearing President Chen's words, Liu Jiangwo was the first to rise, applauding vigorously. Excellent. Well said, President Chen. We, the people of the Dragon Nation, ought to embody this spirit, undaunted by formidable foes, unyielding in mediocrity, and resolute in our pursuit of advancement. We, the people of the Dragon Nation, should possess such confidence, for we have never been inferior to others. Is Eagle Sauce and the Western Alliance truly as formidable as they claim? Yes, but we are not their inferiors. A powerful adversary only accelerates our progress, propelling us to leave all challengers far behind. This principle has remained unchanged throughout history, embodying the indomitable national spirit that has sustained the Dragon Nation for 5 millennia. The conference room resonated with fervent applause, a wave of enthusiasm that seemed impossible to quell. Everyone was captivated by Liu Jiangwo's words, as an emotion known as confidence swiftly spread among them. I trust Dean Chen's assertions. Pray tell, what is the truth behind the Xuanwu alloy and the Jinwu project? As Liu Jiangwo's voice faded, all eyes turned toward Dean Chun. With a gentle smile, Dean Chun produced a pale golden ingot of metal from his pocket. Allow me to elucidate on a classified project of the Shunshur Military Academy, the Jinwu satellite killer. Days later, at the Martin Armaments Company, a subsidiary of Weilon Group. In the first experimental base, a resounding explosion shattered the air as the main building collapsed. Hundreds of researchers and security personnel engaged in military research met their untimely demise. Chapter 13. A cataclysmic explosion. The Eagle's loss exceeds hundreds of billions. All 18 melting experiments had failed. Devil. This is devil alloy. The manufacturing formula is controlled by demons. And we are destined to meet Satan. Kruger, the director of the Materials Research Center at AFO University, crawled madly out of the rubble, stark naked and frantically darting about. Upon receiving the news, Aper and Weilon hurriedly arrived by helicopter, only to be confronted by a scene reminiscent of hell, ravaged as if by artillery fire. What on earth transpired? Weilon seized Kruger by the neck, demanding answers in a fit of rage. This experimental base was a super research facility that had cost the Weilon family billions, housing countless cutting-edge scientific instruments, priceless treasures sought after by researchers across the Blue Star. Furthermore, it contained a wealth of top-secret military technology that had never been revealed, all reduced to dust before it could see the light of day. Not to mention the hundreds of senior researchers who had been painstakingly recruited from abroad at exorbitant salaries. All of it now lay in ruins. Weilon felt his heart bleed at the thought of the aftermath. This incident would surely make his standing in the family untenable. The prospect of future ostracism and hostility only fueled his fury. Speak. What exactly happened? Kruger struggled to gesture toward his throat, and only then did Weilon realize. Hastily releasing his grip. Minister, the manufacturing formula for the Xuanwu alloy is flawed. We adhered strictly to the parameters, executing each step with utmost precision. Everything was progressing well. The titanium and tungsten alloys had successfully melted. We were merely a step away. But when 2 tons of explosives were introduced into the electronic beam cooling furnace, boom, we detonated the furnace. Under the relentless orders from Bai Dian, we attempted again and again, only to fail time after time. During this period, we have decommissioned over 20 electron beam cold bed furnaces, resulting in the untimely demise of several researchers. At last, I have discerned the crux of the issue. It must be due to the insufficient quantity of explosives. I have deployed 20 tons of explosives. I refuse to believe I cannot bring this project to fruition. The demon approaches. We are all destined for hell, ha ha ha. Kruger dashed away in a frenzy, while Wei Luan's complexion turned ashen. It is over, utterly over. AP fell to the ground with a thud, drenched in cold sweat. In that moment, he suddenly realized, how could a low-level insider so easily obtain such confidential information regarding the alloy manufacturing process? Why has the Dragon Kingdom remained inert, not even issuing a condemnation? This clearly indicates that the insider has been exposed. Someone has provided him with a counterfeit formula, treating him like a fool. Deceivers are all deceivers. He lifted his head and called to the heavens, Dragon Kingdom, I shall not coexist with you. Ding, ding, ding. AP's phone rang. The caller was the first secretary of the Baidian. Lord General, today is the promised shipping date. Countries are calling to inquire when our new type of armor will be dispatched. AP, in a fit of rage, shouted into the phone, delay it. Find a way to postpone. Just say that the pre-order quantity is too high and requires more time to prepare. He violently hurled the phone to the ground. His face twisted in fury. The reputation of Eagle Sauce must not be tarnished on his watch. If possible, he wished to push this onto the next general. However, this was not a prudent plan. Nations are not fools, and over time, they would surely uncover the truth. After a moment of contemplation, he clenched his jaw and commanded, Wei Luan, call Powell and instruct him to obtain the true formula of the Xuanwu alloy at any cost, even if it means exposing the senior insider. Additionally, notify the Foreign Trade Bureau that effective immediately, all exports of titanium and tungsten alloy refining equipment to all countries are prohibited. If Eagle Sauce does not possess it, then no one on Blue Star shall have it. I intend for the Dragon Kingdom to keep the formula buried within. Wei Luan promptly made the call. Yet, mere seconds later, he hung up, his face ashen. Lord General, the Dragon Kingdom has just held a press conference. He pointed his phone at AP, displaying the content of the press conference. On screen, the President of the Supreme Court, Liu Jianguo, stood on the podium, beaming, holding a piece of pale golden alloy, and spoke eloquently. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the latest alloy developed by the Military Science Academy of Shanshi, Dragon Kingdom. We have named it Xuanwu alloy. Coincidentally, the protective capability of the armor made from this alloy is said to surpass that of the so-called adamantine metal announced by Eagle Sauce just days prior, exceeding depleted uranium armor by tenfold. The following segment featured questions from reporters. Upon hearing this, the assembled journalists erupted in astonishment. Has the Dragon Kingdom ceased all pretense? The alloy resembling adamantium essentially implies a blatant admission of imitation. Adamantium was initially revealed by the Americans, yet it is now the Dragon Country that has unveiled a tangible specimen. The intricacies of this relationship are decidedly delicate. Soon, a journalist rose to pose a question. I am a reporter from the United States, and I would like to inquire of Dean Liu. It is well known that your country has even attempted to appropriate the already registered Jiangju Dano Festival from the United States. Each so-called significant breakthrough has been accompanied by international patent litigation. Thus, I have reason to doubt whether this newly announced alloy is genuinely a product of independent research from the Dragon Country. Last year, your nation condemned acts of industrial espionage, yet now it brazenly flaunts stolen achievements. Does your country not feel a sense of shame? The incisive query from the American journalist stirred a commotion among the audience. The journalists, led by the Western Alliance, perked up, hastily directing their cameras towards Liu Jianguo. Notably, the Gallian News Agency quickly adjusted their filters to create a more ominous portrayal of Liu Jianguo. News headlines swiftly swept across the international web. Has the Shunxing Military Academy's press conference become a celebration of industrial espionage? Dean Liu, brandishing the adamantium replica, provokes the technological order of the free world. Dragon Country's shamelessness, openly announcing plagiarized achievements. On social media, countless uninformed netizens expressed their outrage, condemning the Dragon Country. When the Dragon Country claims independent research, it essentially means Control-C, Control-V with a change in font color. This brings to mind the bizarre incident years ago when blueprints for a Bear aircraft engine appeared at the Shunxing Military Academy. Tianshan Cotton, Inghai duplicates. Technological plagiarism. What a terrifying nation the Dragon Country is. Shameless Dragon Country, get off our blue planet. Encouraged by behind-the-scenes forces, a wave of anti-dragon sentiment began to resurface worldwide. Countless citizens flooded the streets in protest, violently vandalizing stores owned by individuals from the Dragon Country. Even within the Dragon Country, dissenting voices began to emerge. Some intellectuals posted online, seemingly advocating for the Dragon Country, yet subtly undermining public confidence. The Dragon Country has faced too many hardships over the years. It is understandable to pilfer a bit of technology. When beaten, one should stand tall. The Dragon Country has graciously admitted it, which ought to earn some respect. How could they even hold a press conference? I would be too embarrassed to face anyone. The research community in the Dragon Country has long been in disarray. It's high time to remove this Liu Jiangwo from his position. Under the influence of these intellectuals, many began to waver. Could it truly be, as the Americans claimed, that the Dragon Country had pilfered the results of their research? Chapter 14. The Americans are suffering, while the Dragon Country profits greatly. On the podium, Liu Jiangwo patiently listened to the American journalist's remarks, a slight smile gracing his lips. The journalist's question was indeed astute. A thief should not brazenly announce their ill-gotten gains. Yet, some individuals fail to grasp this truth, instead publicly showcasing the results of their plundering with unabashed pride. I express my vehement condemnation of such behavior and urge its prompt rectification. The journalists present were momentarily taken aback by Liu Jiangwo's response. Surely, Liu Jiangwo must be suffering from senility. Does he not realize that he himself is the plagiarist? Why does he adopt a posture as if someone is stealing Longwa's achievements? Could there be some unforeseen twist in this matter? As the reporters awaited further clarification, Liu Jiangwo cleared his throat. Longwa has not pilfered anyone's research, Shungo. Rather than accusing Longwa of plagiarism, one might inquire whether certain nations have indeed produced the so-called Ada-man medal. You are all intelligent individuals. Surely, you do not believe in something that exists solely in PowerPoint presentations? At present, only Longwa has produced tangible results regarding Xuanwu alloy. While certain nations have yet to showcase anything, rendering the distinction between truth and falsehood glaringly evident. Upon hearing Liu Jiangwo's words, the reporters from the Bangor found themselves awkwardly rooted in place. Even the other journalists began to whisper among themselves. Indeed, although the Eagle Nation hastily convened a press conference, they failed to present any physical evidence, and to this day, they have not unveiled any tangible demonstration. This raises legitimate doubts regarding the authenticity of Ada-man medal. In contrast, Longwa has genuinely produced physical items. Thus, the claim of plagiarism against Longwa collapses under scrutiny. If we're to speak of a plagiarist, it should rightly be the Eagle Nation. Most of the journalists present were from state media, and, as they recalled their recent publications brimming with accusations of Longwa's plagiarism, they wished for a hole to hide in. If the higher-ups were to learn of such a monumental blunder, their prospects would be dire. In a bid to safeguard their livelihoods, the journalists hastily revised their articles. So, Longwa presents tangible evidence, shattering the plagiarism myth. The phantom alloy of the Eagle Nation. The Ada-man medal farce. The $100 billion black hole. Allies collectively pursuing the delivery of Ada-man medal armor. With the assistance of these journalists, public opinion swiftly reversed. The world was astonished. I knew it all along. How could our Longwa possibly engage in such acts? Director Liu performed admirably. It is high time to admonish the Bangor. They shamelessly appropriate our intangible cultural heritage. It is the Eagle Nation that has plagiarized from Longwa, yet they dare to accuse us? These media outlets, having failed to grasp the truth, have spread baseless rumors. Who will compensate for the damage inflicted upon Longwa? Within Longwa, the discordant voices swiftly vanished, and the confidence of the populace began to surge anew. Those who had recently clamored online were drowned out by the public's vehement rebuke. The various statements they had previously made were unearthed, rendering them akin to pariahs. Liu Jiangwo inwardly scoffed, yet maintained an outwardly calm demeanor, as if nothing could sway him. Longwa has always adhered to the principles of peaceful coexistence and a shared future for humanity, willing to share its gains with any nation on Blue Star. Unlike certain nations that profess ideals of liberty and equality, declaring that science knows no borders while firmly clinching advanced technology in their grasp, fearful of being surpassed by others. We, the denizens of the Blue Planet, the Dragon Kingdom, are willing to unveil our research findings for the benefit of all, fostering collective advancement. The moment these words were uttered, a wave of astonishment swept through the crowd. Journalists gaped in disbelief, convinced they had misheard. Even the leaders of various countries were taken aback. What has happened to the Dragon Kingdom? Are they no longer concerned for their own interests? One must ponder, which nation among the Blue Planet possesses the audacity to share their research outcomes with others? Let us not even speak of ordinary results. If the alloy held by the Dragon Kingdom is indeed genuine, it would be an invaluable treasure. Possessing it would grant an absolute advantage in disputes with other nations. A formidable national asset influencing the very fate of the country. Has the Dragon Kingdom truly laid it bare? Should we deem them foolish or commend their greatness? Observing the expressions of the reporters below, Liu Jiangwo let out a cold chuckle in his heart and spoke again. The formula for the Xuanwu alloy is as follows: praseodymium oxide 95. Liu Jiangwo spoke eloquently from the podium, and the journalists hurriedly took notes of the formula. However, the very next moment, their expressions collectively shifted. Praseodymium oxide 95, the primary material of the Xuanwu alloy, is actually praseodymium oxide, cunning Dragon Kingdom. Almost all the rare earth resources that can be mined across the Blue Planet are firmly under the control of the Dragon Kingdom. This signifies that only the Dragon Kingdom possesses the qualifications to manufacture the Xuanwu alloy. They can see it but cannot partake. The leaders of various nations, who had been watching the press conference remotely, were seething with frustration. Well, they had obtained the formula, but what good is it to them? Initially, they had hoped to find some advantage, yet they were instead left dumbfounded by the Dragon Kingdom's audacious maneuver. Meanwhile, on the other side, the American ambassador Apis was fuming, his face flushed with anger. Darn Dragon Kingdom. The primary material is praseodymium oxide. Isn't it a blatant trap for us? He had initially thought that by controlling the export of titanium and tungsten refining equipment, he could place the Dragon Kingdom in a predicament, compelling them to share the immense profits generated by the Xuanwu alloy. However, he never anticipated that the manufacturing formula would be so drastically different from what they had obtained. They had assumed that praseodymium oxide was of little consequence, yet it turned out to be the most crucial material. Apis felt a tightness in his chest, nearly choking on his own rage. Upon learning that the Dragon Kingdom had convened a press conference and heard Liu Jiangwo announce the formula, he had fantasized about acquiring the true formula, believing it would effortlessly resolve the crisis for the Americans. Yet, he never expected the Dragon Kingdom to pull such a stunt. He looked towards Weilon, tears of frustration welling in his eyes. Could you please inquire whether the Dragon Kingdom would be willing to sell some Xuanwu alloy to us? In stark contrast to the indignation felt by the Americans, the atmosphere in the Dragon Kingdom was abuzz with excitement. Ever since Liu Jiangwo disclosed the Xuanwu alloy at the press conference, the entire nation of the Dragon Kingdom had subtly begun to stir. With the endorsement of the Supreme Court, countless factories commenced full-scale operations, producing a vast quantity of Xuanwu alloy, under the robust support of the national machinery. Within merely a few weeks, hundreds of thousands of tons of Xuanwu alloy had been manufactured. Such an immense output was sufficient to address any unforeseen circumstances. For instance, the chief of the Eagle Nation, Hapi, personally reached out to the top leadership, pleading with a tone of near desperation to purchase some Xuanwu alloy. Upholding the principle of peaceful coexistence, the leadership graciously acquiesced to the request from the Eagle Nation, agreeing to sell 10,000 tons of Xuanwu alloy at a conscientious price of 30 million dragon coins per ton. This transaction successfully garnered a trade volume of 300 billion dragon coins. In this regard, the Eagle Nation could only grit their teeth and swallow their frustration. The situation was undeniably stronger than any individual. Leaders from various countries were personally visiting the Eagle Nation to collect debts. Should they fail to produce the promised armor, the credibility of the Eagle Nation would truly be shattered, and the hard-won hegemony of the Eagle coin would be supplanted by other currencies. Simultaneously, a significant event transpired at the Military Science Institute in Shenzhen. Chapter 15. Commutation of Life Imprisonment. The Golden Crow emerges. At the experimental base of the Military Science Institute in Shenzhen, Jiang Yi led the team in relentless efforts day and night for over 20 days, finally finding a moment to catch up on the news. Ding successfully shocked the academicians of the Supreme Court. Gaining 1,000 shock points successfully astonished the senior officials of the Eagle Nation. Gaining 1,000 shock points successfully surprised the leaders of various countries. Gaining 1,000 shock points at this moment, Jiang Yi had accumulated an impressive total of 7,150 shock points, just shy of the next system upgrade. Reports indicated that the approval rating of Chief AP of the Eagle Nation had dropped by 5, and Minister Wei Lun was exposed for involvement in the Sister Island incident. What was happening among the senior officials of the Eagle Nation? Had they offended someone? Jiang Yi pondered it in confusion, attributing it to the internal strife within the Eagle Nation's political factions. Suddenly, a wave of cheers erupted within the experimental base. Director Jiang, the last hydraulic claw of the Golden Crow Type 1 satellite killer has been installed. Come downstairs. Everyone is waiting for your inspection. Jiang Yi's expression brightened at once, a flicker of joy appearing in his eyes. Had it truly been assembled so quickly? He had anticipated it would take at least another 2 hours. He hurried downstairs, directing his gaze towards the center of the base. At that moment, the experimental base was filled with laughter and joy. With hundreds of people gathered around a large black cloth, their spirits soaring. What do you think Director John's expression will be when he sees the assembled Golden Crow? He'll surely be so moved he might cry. If I had the intellect to design such astonishing military equipment, I'd be ecstatic too. Huh. As if you're Director Jiang. You won't find another brain like his among a billion people. In my eyes, he is a once-in-a-millennium genius. It is my honor to work alongside him. Everyone was enthusiastically conversing with those around them, taking pride in their involvement in such a remarkable project. Proud to collaborate with a prodigious talent like Jiang Yi. At that moment, someone with keen eyes spotted Jiang Yi descending the stairs and promptly exclaimed, "President Jiang has arrived." Initially, they had addressed him out of necessity, but now, their utterance of President Jiang stemmed from genuine respect. Over the past 20 days, they had witnessed Jiang Yi transform from nothingness to brilliance, overcoming numerous technological challenges that had perplexed the world for years, gradually sculpting this extraordinary treasure into form. Not to mention, this was Jiang Yi's inaugural project leadership, and he completed a large-scale endeavor requiring the coordination of hundreds with remarkable composure. Such grace is not something that can be easily emulated. It is akin to the elegance born of having led countless projects. Indeed, it is elegance. He is akin to a master artist, effortlessly unveiling a masterpiece. They could scarcely fathom the intellect capable of such profound wisdom, truly beyond human comprehension. As Jiang Yi approached the crowd, Ding Shen had been waiting there. Xiao Jiang, the Xuanwu alloy has been recognized by the Supreme Academy as the outstanding scientific achievement of the year. Thanks to the Xuanwu alloy, our nation has shattered the long-standing blockade and monopoly imposed by foreign powers on high-end raw materials. As one of the most practical achievements announced by the Supreme Academy in recent years, the Xuanwu alloy is set to be promoted nationwide. It won't be long before it makes its mark across various industries. Do you understand the significance of this for our nation? Countries around the world are clamoring for our export of Xuanwu alloy, and the recent surge in our foreign trade volume is largely credited to you. Upon hearing Ding Shen's praises, Jiang Yi's eyes sparkled with astonishment. He had not anticipated that such a seemingly insignificant alloy could create such monumental waves in the world. Nevertheless, he was willing to do anything that would enable his nation to soar. Observing the undeniable excitement in Jiang Yi's eyes, Ding Shen continued, "Let me share another piece of good news. In recognition of your achievements, your sentence has been commuted to life imprisonment under the coordination of the Supreme Academy. This is an almost impossible feat in our nation's history. Congratulations, Xiao Jiang. You have finally turned your fate around. I believe this will not be the last time. One day, you will completely vindicate yourself and return in glory." If Ding Shen's earlier words had slightly moved him, now he was overwhelmed with uncontainable joy. Life imprisonment. His sentence had been commuted to life imprisonment. He felt a warmth in his eyes and quickly wiped them. During this period, he had lived each day in trepidation, fearing that the promises made to him might be rescinded. After all, he was only released on parole and had not truly escaped the death penalty. He exerted himself tirelessly to showcase the Golden Crow, not merely to witness the day of his sentence reduction. And now, with the aid of Xuanwu alloy, he has finally arrived at this juncture. With the first step taken, the second shall surely follow. His next objective is to transition from life imprisonment to a fixed-term sentence. He firmly believes that one day, through his relentless efforts, he shall be exonerated. Delightful, truly delightful. Tears finally streamed down Jiang Yi's face, gently splattering onto the ground. Ding Shen let out a soft sigh, gently patting Jiang Yi on the shoulder. This young man, barely 22, has endured and shouldered so much. At last, he can breathe a sigh of relief. Jiang Yi, the unveiling ceremony is entrusted to you. His eyes brimmed with admiration for Jiang Yi as he personally handed the unveiling rope into his hands. Jiang Yi, unreservedly accepting, stood before the black cloth, wiped away his tears, and smiled faintly. "I declare the Golden Crow Type 1 satellite killer officially completed." With a swift tug, the black cloth cascaded down. The full visage of the Golden Crow Type 1 satellite killer was unveiled before all. Under the eager gazes of the crowd, a colossal mechanical entity materialized before Jiang Yi. The entire structure bore the semblance of a bird, poised as if ready to soar into the skies. Its head was raised high, with 12 arrays of spectral sensors resembling mythical eyes, gazing intently toward space. The surface, adorned in a pale golden hue, was actually a nano-level adaptive camouflage layer, adept at evading enemy detection. The extended wings featured quantum film solar panels, each feather-like armor angled at 45 degrees, as if on the brink of breaking free from the Earth's gravitational pull and soaring into the cosmos. The shimmering lines were channels for plasma energy flow, capable of converting solar energy into the power source for plasma boosters without loss. Most astonishing were the 3 hydraulic legs beneath, providing stable support in a triangular formation. Gazing upon the Golden Crow, reminiscent of a divine beast from the Dragon Kingdom, the crowd felt as though they had transcended time and space. They seem to envision a magnificent bird engulfed in flames, soaring through the skies, illuminating all in its wake. This is the Golden Crow, the sun god of the Dragon Kingdom, and now, this mythical creature has been flawlessly resurrected before them. Chapter 16. The competition begins. Are there allies above us? 2 days later, in Yinjing, at the Supreme Court, standing before the familiar architecture, Jiang Yi was flooded with emotions. After more than a month, he was finally back within the precincts of the Supreme Court, in the capacity of an external consultant for the Military Science Academy of Shin City. At this moment, the colossal experimental base of the Supreme Court was teeming with people. A rough count revealed thousands in attendance. Every 3 years, the Dragon Kingdom hosts a military technology invention competition. Although many projects tend to be less than impressive, collectively, the various subdivisions often showcase some remarkable innovations. Among them are undoubtedly a few masterpieces. The scientific talents participating in these projects have become highly sought-after individuals among various research institutions. Some ascend directly to prestigious positions, while others are lured away by private enterprises with lucrative offers. This year's military technology invention competition is unlike any before, as the Supreme Academy has consolidated all regional competitions, establishing the main venue here. Notably, Liu Jiangwo and 2 vice presidents serve as judges, enhancing the event's prestige. Consequently, numerous private enterprises, university professors, and research institutions have applied to observe. Occupying the seats near the podium are the contestants from the 5 major military regions. Despite the presence of over 500 participants, the projects showcased are only a handful, meticulously selected as the most outstanding and promising contenders for awards. Do not fret, have faith in Jinwu. Dean Shun smiled encouragingly at the group of dozens brought to the competition. Once the opening ceremony concludes, we must thoroughly inspect Jinwu again to ensure everything is flawless. This is an excellent opportunity for our Military Science Academy in Shunsher to shine. Let's not squander it. Success or failure hinges on this moment. Let's strive forward. The group nodded in agreement. At that moment, a group approached the podium. Leading them was a spirited elderly man with white hair, accompanied by a middle-aged individual in military attire, adorned with 3 stars on his shoulders. This man was Liu Jiangwo, the president of the Supreme Academy, while the other was Han Jinfeng, the commander of the Central Theater. Following closely behind were the 2 vice presidents of the Supreme Academy, Niu Yuli and Zhao Kongsheng. Zhao Kongsheng might not be well known to many. He was recently promoted from the position of director of the Aviation Research Department at the Supreme Academy. Dean Shin discreetly informed Jiang Yi and others. Upon seeing Zhao Kongsheng, Jiang Yi's gaze sharpened. Zhao Kongsheng had surprisingly become the vice president of the Supreme Academy. Before his wrongful imprisonment, he had worked in the Aviation Research Department under Zhao Kongsheng's leadership. After Jiang Yi's incarceration, Zhao Kongsheng made no move, as if Jiang Yi had never existed in the department. He was ignored, and no investigations were initiated. Yet, at the time, there were numerous points of contention, and it could not be conclusively determined that he was guilty. He was hastily accused of stealing blueprints simply because he was the only one present. Was such treatment justifiable for someone in the upper echelons of the Supreme Academy? Had Zhao Kongsheng been willing to vouch for him back then, he would not have faced the death penalty. Therefore, he had every reason to suspect that Zhao Kongsheng was the hidden informant within the Supreme Academy. Perhaps it was Zhao Kongsheng who had truly stolen the J-35 blueprints. As if sensing Jiang Yi's scrutiny, Zhao Kongsheng abruptly turned his head. Upon seeing Jiang Yi, he momentarily appeared taken aback. Then a cold smirk crept across his lips. The 2 gazes clashed in the air, igniting sparks. Jiang Yi, do you know this Zhao Kongsheng? Dean Shin observed Jiang Yi as he fixated on Zhao Kongsheng and curiously inquired. Jiang Yi nodded slowly. Of course I know him. He was once my esteemed superior. Upon hearing this, the members of the military academy in Shunsher immediately brightened with interest. No wonder you exude such confidence in this competition. It seems you have influential connections. Truly, Jiang is remarkable. His network is vast. With Golden Crow's inherent potential, coupled with personal favors, we might indeed secure an admirable rank. The atmosphere turned jubilant as excitement enveloped Jiang Yi. Yet, Dean Shin furrowed his brow, as if sensing something amiss, his gaze oscillating between Jiang Yi and Zhao Kongsheng. Jiang, is there some conflict between you and Zhao Kongsheng? Instead of responding to Dean Shun, Jiang Yi posed a question of his own. Dean, do you know the reason behind Zhao Kongsheng's promotion to vice dean? Dean Shun pondered momentarily before hesitantly replying. Zhao Kongsheng was unexpectedly promoted about a month ago. From what I gathered from former comrades at the Supreme Court, it seems he was elevated due to resolving a significant case, recovering crucial documents for Longhua. At this juncture, his eyes narrowed sharply. Jiang, Are you implying that Zhao Kongqing's rise is connected to your imprisonment? Jiang, he shook his head. I'm not certain yet, but there is undoubtedly a link between Zhao Kongqing and my incarceration. This assertion stunned the listeners from the Shunshi Military Academy. No way, Jiang. Our chances were already slim. And now you have a past grievance with the judge? This is disastrous. Is there truly no hope for the Shunshi Military Academy? Witnessing the disheartenment of the crowd, Li Yunfei felt a surge of satisfaction and promptly interjected. Jiang, it's not that I'm criticizing you, but while judges are expected to ensure fairness, personal connections often play a role. We could have relied on Dean Chen's influence to garner some leniency from the judges. Now, however, it's all been wiped clean. I suggest we pack up and return home. Participating in this competition is futile and could lead to humiliation. As Li Yunfei's analysis resonated, some began to look despondently at their belongings. Just then, a soft chuckle interrupted their actions. Once, Zhao Kongqing turned a blind eye to my plight, allowing me to languish in a dark prison. But today, I shall make him aware of the adage. 30 years of the East Bank and 30 years of the West Bank. Do not underestimate the impoverished youth. I will show him that I am not merely an object to be mistreated and discarded. I will demonstrate the resilience of the new generation of researchers from Longhua. We cannot retreat. If we do now, it would be our true defeat. He rose, his voice imbued with fervor. Do you wish to slink back in shame? Mocked by the entire research community of Longhua for cowering before the battle? Upon hearing Jiang E's impassioned words, the eyes of the crowd ignited with a renewed spirit of defiance. The radiance emanated like a fierce flame, incessantly searing the hearts of all present, igniting their fervor. No, we shall not retreat. For the honor of the Military Science Academy of Shunsheng, and to vindicate General Jiang, we shall not yield even if it costs us our lives. Rest assured, General Jiang, we shall demonstrate to Zhao Kongqing the folly of his previous indifference towards you. Chapter 17. Terrifying scores. Even the passing mark seems elusive? Researchers are not prone to convoluted discussions. They prioritize efficiency. Hence, Liu Jiangwo's address was succinct. Following the announcement of the competition rules, the grand event officially commenced. Cutting-edge military technologies were ushered into the central arena, while judges congregated around the field. This marked the first occasion for Longhua to amalgamate the military technology invention competition into a singular event, although it represented a significant opportunity for the researchers in attendance. It concurrently indicated that this competition would uphold the most stringent scoring standards witnessed in recent years. As time progressed, scores for several projects began to surface. The project from the Chung City Military Science Academy, the Leaf-Fall air-to-air missile, received a score of 55. The project from the Kuan City Military Science Academy, the Autonomous Directional Anti-Personnel Mine, garnered a mere 45. The project from the Shi City Military Science Academy, the Type 25 new tank, managed a score of 60. The project leaders from various battle zones, upon witnessing the scores all falling below 60, collectively inhaled sharply. It became evident that Liu Jiangwo and his colleagues were exceedingly stringent in their evaluations. In previous competitions, although strict, the projects they presented would typically achieve scores in the range of 70 to 80, at the very least meeting the passing threshold. Yet this time, projects capable of attaining 80 points were failing to reach even the minimum standard. Those projects that once stood at the threshold of passing now bore scores that were utterly disheartening. As it stands, only the Type 25 new tank, a project deserving of full marks, barely managed to pass. This signified that many projects were deemed unworthy by Liu Jiangwo and his team. Such severity was unprecedented. After all the effort expended to present such remarkable projects, to see them fall short of the passing mark was maddening. Had it not been for the merger of the competition zones, I would have hesitated to present them. To receive such low scores with such high expectations is utterly unreasonable. Many project leaders, yet to take the stage, wore expressions of despair, as if awaiting execution. Prior to this event, many had harbored great admiration for the upper echelons of the Supreme Academy. Now, it was as if they were confronted by 3 executioners. What has transpired? In the contestant section, Dean Shun observed the dismal scores being awarded to the projects, his brow furrowed in concern. Since assuming the role of Dean of the Shunsheng Military Science Academy, he had never witnessed such a scenario. Given these stringent evaluation criteria, Jiang Yi's Jinwu project was surely at risk. One could only speculate what extraordinary project would merit high scores from Liu Jiangwo and his associates. Are we not being a bit too hasty? Perhaps we should allow for a few more years of accumulation. The projects participating in this competition are utterly unimpressive, failing to capture my interest. In the competition venue, Liu Jiangwo turned to Han Jinfeng and others, stating his thoughts. Han Jinfeng responded with a wry smile. Aside from the new Type 25 tank, the remainder hardly merits attention. I had initially anticipated that the military technology merger competition hosted by the Supreme Academy would unveil some extraordinary military innovations. Yet, it seems I was overly optimistic. Perhaps the truly remarkable military advancements that could dazzle me are still a few years away. Neo Yuli sighed and remarked, over the years, in the face of technological embargoes, Long Nation has encountered increasing bottlenecks across various research domains. Even the Supreme Academy struggles to overcome these obstacles. How could the institutions below possibly present anything impressive? Zhao Kongsheng scoffed, speaking bluntly. I had expected that the merger of competition zones, alongside the prospect of substantial rewards, would inspire these institutions to unveil something novel. However, it appears that relying on these individuals means Long Nation will never rise. Henceforth, we should depend on internal research from the Supreme Academy. None of these people can be trusted. Upon hearing this, Lu Jiangwo's brow furrowed slightly. Director Zhao, such words are rather severe. There remain many institutions yet to participate. Let us not speak too soon. Perhaps there will indeed be a few astounding projects forthcoming. Just then, a wave of exclamations erupted from the center of the venue. Look, the Supreme Academy's project is about to take the stage. The host's announcement reverberated through the speakers. Let's welcome the project team from the Supreme Academy. Presenting, the Thor electromagnetic railgun. Project leader, Likui. Wow. Upon hearing the host's announcement, everyone present rose in disbelief, a cacophony of astonishment filling the air. What is this? An electromagnetic railgun? Surely it cannot be. This is a piece of military technology that exists only in films. Although there had been whispers of successful domestic tests of electromagnetic cannons, seeing it unveiled by the Supreme Academy in such a manner left them utterly incredulous. A group gradually entered the central area, gesturing to those around them. The leading figure pulled a cord, and the enormous camouflage cloth fell away with a resounding thud. A railgun, approximately 7 meters in length, materialized before the crowd. Its cold metallic texture coursed through its elongated form, with the sharply defined dual railgun barrels gleaming in a characteristic dark blue hue of tungsten chromium alloy. The composite armor base concealed a honeycomb-shaped high-density capacitor matrix, vaguely visible. It resembled a dormant giant beast, exuding a fierce radiance. Merely gazing from a distance, the spectators felt an overwhelming visual impact. Is this the true prowess of the Supreme Academy? The project they casually presented is, astonishingly, an electromagnetic railgun, an epic-defining piece of military technology. How are we to compete with this? Perhaps we should just go home and play in the mud. Do not be overly disheartened. As far as I know, Li Chui is the chief disciple of Vice Dean Zhao Kongsheng, whose talents and abilities are among the rarest in the entire Dragon Nation. Coupled with the seemingly limitless resources of the Supreme Institute, the emergence of such an advanced electromagnetic railgun is entirely justifiable. It is no wonder that Zhao Kongsheng regarded our project with disdain. The real spectacle lies within the Supreme Institute. The contestants sighed in unison, some already beginning to pack their belongings. With the advent of military technology that surpasses the current capabilities of Blue Star by at least a decade, it would be wise to return home and rest. Lu Jiangwo circled around the Thunder God with great interest. With his keen insight as a top researcher, he immediately recognized the extraordinary nature of this electromagnetic railgun. The 7-meter tungsten chromium-coated parallel rails, utilizing a 25 kilograms metal projectile, likely conceal over 200 high-energy capacitors beneath. The initial launch velocity is approximately 6 Mach. Remarkable. Truly, it is no surprise that talent from the Supreme Institute could produce such an astonishing project. The overall score, 85 points. The 15 points deducted were primarily due to the failure to perfectly address the significant recoil issue. Han Jinfeng's eyes sparkled with delight as he touched the iron frame of the Thunder God, exclaiming, if the Navy of the Dragon Nation could equip itself with this electromagnetic railgun, it would face no adversaries in maritime disputes. Dean Zhao, I hear this is your disciple? Talent emerges in every generation. Indeed, a great teacher begets exceptional students. Zhao Kongsheng smiled, appreciating the compliment. Not at all. It is merely a breakthrough resulting from decades of accumulation in the Dragon Nation. Li Chui's eyes sparkled with barely contained joy. With Han Jinfeng's affirmation, he felt he had gained a certain reputation within the military. Invitations for various high-end military research projects would undoubtedly flood in, and he need not worry about obscurity any longer. Lu Jiangwo patted Li Chui on the shoulder and praised him. Well done, young man. If you have any questions in the future, feel free to ask me. Upon hearing Lu Jiangwo's words, Li Chui's eyes lit up. The esteemed Dean Lu had invited him to seek guidance? It is worth noting the stature of Lu Jiangwo, the dean of the Supreme Institute. To attain such a position, One must possess not only exceptional management skills, but also a level of research acumen that commands respect from all peers. Liu Jiangwo's capabilities are well known, making him a national treasure. If he could receive guidance from him, the future could hold immeasurable prospects, if not a swift ascent to greatness. Moreover, he was only 30 years old. A bright future lay ahead, perhaps even the possibility of pursuing the position of Dean of the Supreme Institute in time. With these thoughts, a broad smile crept across his face. Thank you, Dean Liu. I must also express my gratitude to my mentor, Vice Dean Zhao Kongsheng, for his guidance. Without him, the Thunder God project would not have progressed so smoothly. Liu Jiangwo glanced at Zhao Kongsheng, offering a slight nod, before proceeding to the next project. Zhao Kongsheng gently patted Li Chui's shoulder, a smile gracing his lips as he remarked, "Well done. Keep up the good work." After a brief pause, he added with a weighty tone, "There is one more matter you must take heed of. That individual named Jiang Yi has returned." "What? Jiang Yi is back?" Li Chui scanned the surroundings and finally spotted Jiang Yi among the competitors. A fleeting look of panic crossed his face, quickly suppressed. How can we allow such a morally bankrupt traitor to participate in this grand competition? A condemned criminal. What right does he have to stand alongside us? The pinnacle of scientific research? The projects we are working on are confidential. What if he sells them out? Teacher, what should we do? Should we report him? Chapter 18. The exposure of the death sentence identity. The audience calls for his withdrawal. Zhao Kongsheng shook his head slightly, choosing not to elaborate. After a moment of contemplation, Li Chui, having been personally mentored by Zhao Kongsheng, understood his mentor's character well, extremely strict, intolerant of even the slightest flaw. The shake of his head implied not to take action against Jiang Yi. Faced with someone bearing such a significant stain on his character, the teacher would undoubtedly oppose his participation. Thus, the implication was clear. I should covertly obstruct Jiang Yi and ensure his disgrace. With this thought, Li Kui hurriedly followed in Sao Kong's wake. Next, the entry from a military academy of Shun City was announced. Project Chief Designer, Jiang Yi. As thousands of curious eyes turned towards them, Jiang Yi and his team stepped into the center of the arena. Taking a deep breath, Jiang Yi endeavored to calm his racing heart. Before the three leading figures of the Dragon Kingdom's scientific community, even he could not conceal his excitement. Judges, I will now present the project from the Military Academy of Shin City. The Golden Crow Type 1 Satellite Killer. A wave of astonishment rippled through the crowd of thousands. A satellite killer? Liu Jiangwo and Niu Yuli exchanged glances, both perceiving a hint of surprise in one another's eyes. Li Chui, who had been closely trailing Zhao Kongsheng, let out a cold laugh and seized the opportunity to shout, "Jiang Yi, you truly are a fearless fledgling. Do you grasp the challenges involved in satellite development? That is cutting-edge equipment that no non-national research institution should dare to touch. Don't think that a few months at the Supreme Academy makes you a top-tier talent in the scientific community. Such advanced products are beyond the reach of even someone like me, who has worked at the Supreme Academy for over a decade. You, a prisoner sentenced to death for stealing J-35 schematics. Are you certain you have genuinely developed this so-called satellite killer? Don't end up presenting a half-baked creation that invites ridicule." Listening to Li Chui's derision, Liu Jiangwo and the others remained non-committal, refraining from intervening. Their impression of Jiang Yi was shallow, yet they gleaned some insights from Li Chui's words. This Jiang Yi was indeed the intern from the Supreme Academy who had been imprisoned for stealing the J-35 schematics just months prior. In their hearts, scientific research is regarded as a sacred and meticulous endeavor. Each researcher emerges as a formidable individual, having fought their way through countless projects. How could an intern like Jiang Yi, who has scarcely participated in any research projects, possibly possess the capability to create a satellite killer? It is evident that the entry from a military academy of Shun City is likely just a token submission. Seeing that Liu Jiangwo and others did not intervene, Li Chui felt a surge of excitement, thinking that there might be hope. He quickly intensified his rhetoric. "Dean Liu, this individual named Jiang Yi is utterly unworthy of participating in this grand competition. If other nations were to learn that our Dragon Country's most prestigious scientific event allowed a death row inmate to compete, where would that leave the reputation of our scientific community? They would surely mock us, saying that our research community has fallen so low as to permit a condemned criminal to participate. How absurd! With over 3,000 spectators present, if word spreads, our scientific community in Dragon Country will find it impossible to hold its head high in the Blue Star in the future. You must think carefully." Upon hearing Li Chui's words, Liu Jiangwo furrowed his brow in contemplation. Meanwhile, the audience erupted in an uproar. This Jiang Yi was, in fact, a death row inmate? Can a condemned criminal truly participate in such a prestigious competition? Does the Supreme Court not conduct any scrutiny at all? A scoundrel like him, who betrays his country for personal gain, would surely produce nothing but worthless creations. He has brought disgrace upon our scientific community. Jiang Yi, get off the stage. Jiang Yi, get off the stage. Listening to the thunderous cries of outrage surrounding him, the members of the Shun City Military Academy were left despondent, wishing they could bury their heads in the sand like ostriches. They never anticipated that Jiang Yi's identity as a death row inmate would have such a profound impact on them. The furious audience did not even grant them an opportunity to take the stage. Alas, it seems all hope is lost. We might as well pack our belongings and return. Li Yunfei sighed and deliberately remarked, next time, we must refrain from mentioning General Jiang's name, lest we jeopardize our qualification to compete. General Jiang, do not lose heart. The scientific community of Dragon Country cannot tolerate a single grain of sand, and this is a predictably unfortunate situation. If blame is to be assigned, let it be to ill fortune for being exposed on the spot. Perhaps next time, you could step back and allow a cleaner individual to take your place as the chief planner and engineer. Upon hearing Li Yunfei's sardonic tone, Dean Shun snorted in disapproval. Li Yunfei, be silent. Whose side are you on? Who would belittle their own prestige? Enough. Let us observe Jiang Yi. He is not so easily intimidated. Despite this, Dean Shen's gaze towards Jiang Yi was filled with concern. In the midst of the commotion, facing the discontent of the three deans and the hostility of thousands of spectators, Jiang Yi stood his ground, unwavering. May I ask, esteemed leaders, does the competition rule explicitly prohibit criminals from participating? Jiang Yi fixed his gaze on Liu Jiangwo, his eyes brimming with defiance. Liu Jiangwo furrowed his brow and slowly replied, no, the competition does not prohibit criminals from participating. The issue lies in the fact that no one anticipated the emergence of such a peculiar figure as Jiang Yi in the military technology invention competition. Naturally, there wouldn't be a specific rule prohibiting criminals from participating. This has allowed you to exploit a loophole, but I shall rectify this by adding such a stipulation. With that, Liu Jiangwo turned to proceed to the next project, even disregarding the identity of a death row inmate. What merit could there be in a project led by an intern? He simply had no time to waste here. Li Chui cast a cold glare at Jiang, a smirk forming within his heart. Jiang Yi, with me in the Supreme Court, you shall never rise again in this lifetime. You still wish to immerse yourself in research? Dream on. Just then, Jiang Yi's voice resonated from behind Liu Jiangwo and the others. Director Liu, what are your thoughts on Xuanwu alloy? Liu Jiangwo paused momentarily, slowly turning back. Xuanwu alloy, what are you implying? Li Chui seized the moment to step forward, disdain evident in his tone. Are you suggesting that the world-renowned Xuanwu alloy was developed by you? Although Xuanwu alloy originated from the Military Science Academy in Shunsheng, we are well aware of the capabilities of that institution. Aside from Director Chun, who among your ranks possesses the ability to develop such a novel material, even if you seek recognition, there is no need to fabricate such easily discernible lies. Jiang Yi frowned slightly, finding Li Chui increasingly irksome after a month apart. He recalled the time when he first joined the Supreme Court, where Li Chui, as his senior, had taken great care of him, resembling a warm older brother. Yet, ever since he was wrongfully imprisoned, Li Chui had never once come to visit him. That night, it was Li Chui who had insisted on accompanying him to the archives for a drink. But when he awoke from his drunken stupor, he was already accused of stealing classified blueprints. Li Chui had vanished without a trace, claiming he had never set foot in the archives. The surveillance footage from that day revealed that he was the only one who entered the archives. The footage must have been tampered with. Someone intended for him to bear this unjust blame. This blame had been prepared for him since he entered the Supreme Court, and the most likely culprit was Li Chui. Jiang Yi fixed a cold stare on Li Chui's handsome face. It seemed imperative for him to distinguish himself in the competition, thereby garnering the attention of the high echelons of Longhua. Only then could he demand a reopening of the investigation and clear his name. Chapter 19. Old scholars attempting to take advantage. Dare to move? Indeed, I was the one who developed Xuanwu alloy. Bianc, Yisimidet faintly, gesturing towards the enormous black cloth behind him. Whether you believe it or not is of little consequence. For Xuanwu alloy is merely a byproduct of the Jinwu project. And upon Jinwu, there lie even more formidable creations than Xuanwu alloy. As these words left his lips, the entire audience was taken aback, in a state of shock. They had no time to consider Jiang Yi's assertion that the Xuanwu alloy was his invention. What nonsense was this death row inmate spouting? He audaciously claimed that the Xuanwu alloy was of no significance. What a joke. Since its inception, the Xuanwu alloy had become the coveted treasure of various industries. Drill bits crafted from Xuanwu alloy boasted an extraction efficiency 8 times that of standard drill bits. Moreover, Shield tunneling machines utilizing Xuanwu alloy had accelerated tunnel excavation speeds by a staggering tenfold. The breakthroughs in materials brought forth by the Xuanwu alloy had left numerous research institutions overjoyed. With its remarkable hardness, extraordinary toughness, lightweight composition, and exceptional heat resistance, projects involving Xuanwu alloy heavy machine guns, armored tanks, fighter jets, and even rockets were fast-tracked, all due to this seemingly inconsequential alloy. Countless individuals had pleaded and beseeched for even a mere fragment of a Xuanwu alloy. And now, you dare to suggest that this marvel is merely a trivial byproduct of that absurd Jinwu? There are even more powerful products than the Xuanwu alloy on the Jinwu? Are we the ones who have lost our senses? Or is it this world that has gone mad? Li Shui couldn't help but chuckle derisively, bending over in laughter. He pointed at the black cloth behind Jiang Yi and scoffed. Do you think this product, which surpasses the technological advancements of Blue Star by decades, is as common as cabbage? Achieving such a technological breakthrough in a decade is already remarkable, and you come here with a wholesale supply? Truly, ignorance breeds audacity. Each technological advancement represents the relentless efforts of countless researchers who toil day and night, a culmination of time, manpower, and resources. Do you truly believe that, as a mere death row inmate, you can rival the decades of research by innumerable scholars? Individuals like you, who lack even the most basic respect for science, are unworthy to stand among us. Upon hearing Li Shui's words, even Lu Jiangwo and others nodded in slight agreement. Initially, Lu Jiangwo had been inclined to believe that Jiang Yi was indeed the creator of the Xuanwu alloy, having previously witnessed its demonstration by Dinshan at the Supreme Court, where Jiang Yi's name had been mentioned with a degree of admiration. However, upon hearing Jiang Yi claim that there were even more formidable products than the Xuanwu alloy, that admiration swiftly transformed into anger and disappointment. He had witnessed too many young individuals with lofty aspirations. A hint of achievement would lead them to become arrogant, even believing that their creations were of unparalleled excellence. But what was the outcome? Their pride and blind confidence ultimately yielded results that fell short. Like a fleeting wave, they were soon submerged within the crowd. Everyone, I believe we need not dwell on this project any longer. Let's move on to the next. At that moment, he found himself devoid of interest even in casting a glance at the Jinwu, turning to leave. Dinshan, however, grew anxious and swiftly positioned himself in front of Lu Jiangwo and the others, bowing slightly with eyes full of pleading. Dean Lu, I assure you, this child Jiang won't lie. If he says it exists, then it certainly does. Please trust him just this once. I guarantee, in my capacity as an esteemed academician of the Dragon Nation for over 40 years, that this satellite killer is undoubtedly a revolutionary marvel in military technology. Just observe. Witnessing the elderly Director Chun, stooped and frail, adopting such a humble demeanor for the sake of Jinwu, stirred a profound emotion within Jiang Yi. He resolved to exert his utmost effort in this competition, determined not to let Director Chun down. Lu Jiangwo furrowed his brow, casting a cold glance at Director Chun. Director Chun, are you attempting to coerce me? Zhao Kongcheng interjected bluntly. Director Chun, leveraging your age is hardly commendable. Please rise. There are many witnesses here, and one might misconstrue that we are bullying you. Niu Yuli assisted Director Chun to his feet, hesitating before suggesting, perhaps we should offer Jiang Yi an opportunity? That is out of the question. If we set such a precedent, everyone will seek an elder to exert pressure, and how will we proceed with our work? Zhao Kongcheng firmly rejected Niu Yuli's proposal. Lu Jiangwo's gaze shifted thoughtfully as he began to speak. Director Chun, as a pioneer of scientific research in the Dragon Nation, you have endured considerable hardship. The progress we have made, from nothing to where we stand today, is largely attributable to your diligent efforts, and we acknowledge your contributions. However, his tone abruptly turned icy. A person of such moral decay does not merit your deference. Even Han Zhenfeng frowned slightly, casting a cold stare at Director Chun, though he refrained from interjecting, recognizing this as a private matter of the Supreme Institute. As Lu Jiangwo and the others rejected him, Director Chun trembled, raising a hand to clutch his chest, his complexion paling dramatically. You all suddenly, he swayed and began to collapse onto the ground. Director Chun, Jiang Yi rushed to embrace him, lifting his head. Director Chun, please wake up. The others panicked, hastily calling for assistance. Each elder scientist was a treasure to the Dragon Nation, and nothing must happen to them, for they could not bear such a responsibility. Director Lu, please just consider Jiang Yi's project. This is my sole request. Director Chen's voice was barely a whisper. Without suspicion, Lu Jiangwo promptly acquiesced. Very well. I shall grant any request you make, but you must not come to harm. The ambulance arrived swiftly, and several nurses worked together to lift Director Chun. Director Chun, I will not participate in the competition. I will accompany you, Jiang Yi declared as he prepared to follow. At that moment, however, Director Chen subtly winked at him. In that gaze, there was no sign of weakness or frailty. This old man was full of vigor. Jiang Yi realized this was a clever ploy to manipulate Liu Jiangwo and the others, who would not be intimidated by decades-long dedicated academician of the nation. Even Liu Jiangwo and his peers found it difficult to remain composed. It seems that Dinshan was left with no choice but to resort to such a desperate measure. Jiang Yi, you must seize this opportunity and showcase the Jinwu to everyone. Do not let this crucial matter slip away. Jiang Yi stood there, momentarily dazed, a bitter smile gradually forming on his lips. Dinshan, who would have thought he possessed such a childlike side? We cannot afford for anything to go amiss. Under the anxious gaze of Liu Jiangwo and others, the ambulance departed swiftly. The group turned to look at Jiang Yi in unison. Cough, since this is Dinshan's request, we cannot let his goodwill go unappreciated, right? Liu Jiangwo stated, slightly embarrassed. The other two quickly nodded in agreement. At that moment, they dared not challenge Jiang Yi further. After all, if Dinshan were to hear of it and something were to go wrong, they would bear the brunt of the blame. Little Jiang, although Dinshan has allowed you to continue participating, you must not let this go to your head. We will treat you with the same fairness as everyone else. It is our responsibility to all, he continued. Jiang Yi nodded, but within him, an overwhelming fury had already ignited. He merely wished to participate. Yet he had forced Dinshan to lower himself and act in such a way. The Supreme Institute, you have gone too far. Let me show you just how formidable the Jinwu, which you so disdain, truly is. Chapter 20. I declare that all present here are worthless. At this moment, Jiang Yi resolved to no longer endure in silence. He sought to voice his grievances, to speak for Dinshan, and to represent the researchers of the Military Academy of Shunshi. He aimed to trample the arrogance of the Supreme Institute beneath his feet, allowing all who look down upon them to witness what it truly means to have a dragon amidst the mountains. First, I would like to extend my gratitude to Dean Liu for his goodwill. However, there is something I'm unsure whether I should express. Jiang Yi began. Liu Jiangwo frowned, but patiently encouraged him to continue. Speak your mind. A mocking smile graced Jiang Yi's lips as he declared. What I wish to say is that all of you present here are worthless. My Jinwu satellite killer is 10 times more significant than all the competing projects in this contest combined. Yet, out of arrogance and prejudice, you obstruct the emergence of this national treasure. If this results in substantial losses for Longhua, who among you will bear the cost? Will you? He pointed at Li Chui, then slowly directed his finger towards Liu Jiangwo. Or perhaps you. A gasp swept through the room. Li Cui, infuriated, retorted. You, a death row inmate? What could you possibly create in prison? Stop boasting. A national treasure causing immense losses? Come, I will watch you closely and see what you can produce. As one of the most accomplished researchers among the younger generation of the Supreme Institute, no one had ever dared to speak to him in such a manner. With that industrial scrap of yours, I would even consider compensating you. Researchers are inherently proud, and Li Chui's sentiments echoed the collective thoughts of everyone present. Thousands of onlookers gazed at Jiang Yi with expressions of utter disbelief. The atmosphere instantly descended into chaos as countless individuals cast aside their pretenses and erupted in furious exclamations. Who is this brash youth daring to insult us? He should vacate the stage at once. How dare he label our projects as trash? The audacity is simply outrageous. It seems anyone is permitted to compete now. Director Liu, if you do not remove this scoundrel from the platform, we shall not participate in any future grand competitions held by the Supreme Court. Liu Jiangwo's demeanor darkened progressively. He fixed a cold, piercing gaze upon Jiang Yi, emanating an imposing aura befitting a figure of authority. Jiang Yi, do you comprehend the gravity of your words? As an adult, one must take responsibility for their statements. Should you continue to display such insolence, do not say, I did not forewarn you. In the face of Liu Jiangwo's formidable pressure, Jiang Yi remained unyielding, returning the stare with a sardonic smile. I, Jiang Yi, declare here and now, if the Jinwu project does not secure first place in this competition, I shall promptly withdraw from the realm of scientific research, never to engage in any project again, and I shall bow an apology to everyone present. Liu Jiangwo scoffed. Very well, let your words be binding. With that, he crossed his arms, awaiting Jiang Yi to unveil his project. But what if I win? Jiang Yi, idiot. Win? Liu Jiangwo chuckled derisively. He had never entertained the notion that Jiang Yi's project could achieve first place. Indeed, he had already deemed it destined for last place. As the esteemed president of the Supreme Court of Longhua, a towering figure in the scientific community, he had never encountered anyone bold enough to speak to him in such a manner. The scholars of the scientific realm addressed him with reverence, and even the upper echelons of Longhua treated him with utmost deference. Even the exhortations from President Chun could not extinguish the fury igniting within him. A presumptuous fool, unworthy of association. In his heart, Liu Jiangwo had already condemned Jiang Yi's project to failure. No matter how dazzling Jiang Yi's presentation might be, it would not alter his conviction. If you win, I and the 2 vice presidents shall apologize to you and to the Military Science Academy of Shunshe. Will that suffice? Before Liu Jiangwo's words had fully escaped his lips, Niu Yuli hastily interjected. Director Liu, you are the pinnacle of Longwa's scientific community. How can you lower yourself to gamble with this young man? It matters not. Even if he presents something extraordinary today, I shall not grant him a single additional point. Moreover, I do not believe he can produce anything of merit. This is a wager I cannot lose. What have I to fear? With Liu Jiangwo's confidence unwavering, Niu Yuli ceased to argue. Then it is settled. The one who wavers is akin to a pup. Jiang Yi smiled faintly, seizing the rope and pulling it sharply. Director Liu, prepare to be astonished. Behold the Jinwu, the first satellite killer of Blue Star, surpassing existing technology by 30 years, specifically designed to annihilate satellites. With that, the Jinwu was fully unveiled before Liu Jiangwo and the others, leaving them in stunned silence. At this moment, high noon, a brilliant ray of golden light suddenly illuminated the surroundings. The blinding radiance momentarily rendered the onlookers unable to open their eyes. Once accustomed to the dazzling glow, they were astonished to discover a colossal mechanical bird standing majestically at the center of the venue. Is this all? Li Chui circled the golden bird a few times, pointing at it and bursting into laughter. Surely you do not believe that assembling a large bird from scrap metal and coating it with a layer of gold paint would deceive anyone? You claim this is a satellite killer. I must inquire, where are the thrusters capable of operating in outer space? What are the weapons purported to destroy satellites? And the radar that can lock onto targets beyond visual range? I see none of these essential components. To present such a piece of junk, lacking even the most basic functionalities, is beyond shameful. Perhaps it would be best for you to take this heap of scrap back and play in the mud. Listening to Li Chui's derision, the thousands present joined in the mockery. Is this truly the project that the Military Science Academy of Shunshan cherishes so dearly, which Director Chen has fought tooth and nail to protect? It hardly seems impressive. I dare say my child could assemble something like this. It appears the Military Science Academy of Shunshan has truly run out of capable personnel. This project is nothing short of a disgrace. To dare present such a project in a competition held by the Supreme Court is indeed a shame upon the Dragon Nation. Just then, Liu Jiangwo, who had remained silent, suddenly squinted his eyes. Director Liu, what is it? Niu Yuli sensed something amiss and inquired curiously. Yet, Liu Jiangwo seemed oblivious to the question. His gaze fixed vacantly upon the golden bird. He drew closer, inching nearer until he was almost touching it. With a gentle grasp, he plucked a feather from the golden bird and began to examine it intently. This is Xuanwu alloy. Each breakthrough in raw materials heralds a technological revolution. As the president of the Supreme Court, Liu Jiangwo held Xuanwu alloy in the highest regard, eager to study it daily, recognizing the material at a glance. He could hardly contain his disbelief as he inspected several more feathers, his eyes widening in astonishment. This one too, and these. Every feather is crafted from Xuanwu alloy. In fact, every inch of the golden bird's exterior is enveloped in Xuanwu alloy. With Liu Jiangwo's exclamation, the once cacophonous arena fell into an abrupt silence. A collective gasp resonated as the air in the venue seemed to thin. All present stared in disbelief at the golden bird. Xuanwu alloy? The mechanical giant they had previously dismissed as scrap was entirely constructed from Xuanwu alloy. Is this alloy as common as cabbage? It had only recently allowed the Dragon Nation to reap immense profits, while costing the Eagle Nation billions in losses. How could such a vast quantity adorn this mechanical giant? Even the feathers are forged from Xuanwu alloy. Who is this scoundrel, this prodigal heir? How could he possibly possess such wealth? Such a travesty. One must understand that Xuanwu alloy has skyrocketed to a price of 1,000,000 dragon coins per ton in the Dragon Kingdom. Its export is strictly prohibited. How much Xuanwu alloy must have been used in this colossal bird? This is no scrap. It is, without a doubt, a mountain of gold. Chapter 21. The Golden Crow's Cry, the Emergence of Laser Weapons. Thud! Li Chui collapsed to the ground, his face a canvas of disbelief. Impossible, absolutely impossible. Xuanwu alloy is so precious. How could you possibly have so much? Ding! Successfully shocked the mid-level insider of Eagle Sauce, gaining 500 shock points. Upon hearing the system's notification, Jiang Yi was momentarily taken aback, followed by a smirk playing at the corners of his mouth. Li Kui, I indeed did not misjudge you. I never imagined you were truly an insider for Eagle Sauce. It seems that my wrongful imprisonment was orchestrated with your involvement. However, for now, this knowledge is mine alone. I must find a way to make Li Chui reveal his own flaws. With this thought, Jiang Yi deliberately remarked, "Have you forgotten that I developed Xuanwu alloy? Naturally, I can have as much as I desire, unlike certain individuals who, despite their lofty titles, cannot even procure a piece of Xuanwu alloy." At Jiang Yi's words, Li Chui's jealousy erupted. Why should a death row inmate possess such immense wealth? It must be sheer luck, a blind cat stumbling upon a dead mouse, that he accidentally discovered Xuanwu alloy. His fortune is simply too excessive. Li Chui's face turned pale. Yet he stubbornly retorted, what if it is made of Xuanwu alloy? With the capabilities of your military science academy in Shin City, it is utterly impossible to produce anything truly usable. Indeed, it must be so. He seemed to regain a glimmer of confidence, abruptly rising to his feet. This bird is nothing but an empty shell. Aside from the external Xuanwu alloy, it can hardly even move, can it? Jiang Yi regarded Li Chui with a gaze one might reserve for a fool. It can't move? Are you certain? He retrieved a futuristic light golden remote control from his pocket. This scene sent all present into a frenzy once more. Even the remote control is crafted from Xuanwu alloy. This is simply beyond extravagant. Jiang Yi gently pressed a button on the remote. In the next moment, the golden crow unfurled its wings with a sudden flourish. The wingspan of 15 meters blotted out the sun, as if two enormous curtains obscured the view of those below. With a resonant clang, the golden crow raised its head and let out a deafening cry that reverberated through the air. In the sunlight, the golden feather-like armor of the golden crow shimmered brilliantly, as countless pale blue energy circuits converged toward its torso, while 3 hydraulic claws dug deep into the concrete, leaving 3 profound pits. Amidst the piercing pain in their eardrums, an air of majesty and sanctity surged toward the crowd, as the magnificent golden crow, akin to a legendary beast, graced the scene. A collective gasp arose from the throngs of thousands present, who instinctively covered their ears. Even Liu Jiangwo's eyes sparkled with astonishment. Is this truly the golden crow? With his extensive knowledge, Liu Jiangwo immediately discerned its extraordinary nature. The mere act of spreading its wings showcased a level of agility that surpassed the vast majority of mechanical creations available on the market. Such a feat could not possibly be the result of a mere casual research endeavor. He gazed incredulously at the composed Jiang Yi not far away. What kind of monstrous creation has this individual brought forth? Niu Yuli, Zhao Kongsheng, and others were equally stunned by the spectacle before them. As the closest individuals to the golden crow at the scene, their understanding was unparalleled. All of them were renowned figures in the realm of scientific research, possessing top-tier vision and experience. Upon the golden crow's ascent, its eyes flickered with spectral sensors, revealing a slender cannon vaguely protruding from its mouth, and dozens of thrusters hidden beneath its feather-like armor. Clearly, there was something remarkable at play. The golden crow emitted 2 beams of red light, enveloping Jiang Yi. Identity confirmed. Welcome, Commander Jiang Yi. Hostile intent detected in human micro-expressions within a 100-meter radius. Shall enemy mode be activated? Niu Yuli swallowed hard, his voice trembling as he stammered. It possesses intelligence? As an expert in AI at the Supreme Institute, Niu Yuli understood the intricacies of artificial intelligence all too well. What kind of AI could instantaneously assess the micro-expressions of over 1,000 individuals within 100 meters and discern hostile intent? It is worth noting that within that radius sat a multitude of people, perfectly controlling such a complex and massive mechanical entity without a single error. This was far beyond the current technological capabilities of Blue Star. Even the so-called cutting-edge technology of the Eagle Nation could not achieve this. While the Eagle Nation's most powerful GPT is remarkably convenient for data retrieval, it often behaves foolishly in specific situations. The AI aboard the Golden Crow surpassed the reputedly strongest GPT of Blue Star by a considerable margin. Jiang Yi shrugged, a slight smile gracing his lips. Indeed, I have incorporated a self-developed superintelligent AI capable of assisting in the control of the machine and discerning friend from foe. His tone was nonchalant, as if discussing a trivial matter. Unbeknownst to him, a tempest of astonishment had already erupted in the hearts of all present. General Han Jinfeng of the Central War Zone stroked his chin with keen interest. A satellite killer equipped with superintelligent AI is quite intriguing. At that moment, the audience finally began to comprehend the gravity of the situation. This so-called death row inmate, Jiang Yi, was not engaging in deception. He was clearly playing the role of a pig to eat the tiger. Li Chui's mind buzzed with disbelief as he struggled to maintain his composure amidst the overwhelming shock. He feigned disdain and exclaimed, Jiang Yi, what despicable tactics you employ. How could you possibly possess an AI more formidable than Eagle Sauce's GPT? Do you comprehend the countless iterations and extensive learning required for such an intelligent AI to become operational? He scoffed derisively. This must be a pre-recorded audio you devised to deceive everyone present. He circled the Jinwu several times, his frustration boiling over as he demanded, "Speak. Or have you concealed the recording device?" Yet this time, Jiang Yi chose to ignore him, and even Lu Jiangwo and the others regarded him with bemusement. "Xiaodi, are you questioning my judgment?" Niu Yuli interjected with a cold snort. "Whether it's true or false, others may be ignorant, but I am not. Do you think my years of AI research have been in vain?" At Niu Yuli's reprimand, Li Chui promptly fell silent, though a flicker of malice gleamed in his eyes. Damn it, how could such a simple AI garner such favor from the big shots? Even the electromagnetic railgun I acquired through Eagle Sauce failed to attract such attention. Jiang Yi is merely a death row inmate. Why does he deserve this? I refuse to accept it. In the center of the venue, Jiang Yi gestured to his colleagues from the Shun City Military Academy, and one of them promptly signaled an okay. In the next moment, a drone suddenly ascended from several hundred meters away, soaring rapidly into the sky. Where did that drone come from? Lu Jiangwo pondered, momentarily taken aback, then fell silent as understanding dawned upon him. Before the bewildered eyes of thousands, the drone swiftly reached an altitude of 1 kilometer, a height nearly impossible to discern with the naked eye. At that moment, Jiang Yi commanded the Jinwu, "A drone has just passed. I order you to destroy it immediately." With Jiang Yi's command, 2 beams of crimson light erupted from the Jinwu's eyes. Targeting, target locked, distance to target, 1,213 meters, time taken, 0.3 seconds. Shall we destroy? Destroy. As Jiang Yi's words fell, the Jinwu's elongated beak slightly opened, revealing a slender cannon within. The next instant, a pale red laser beam, approximately 30 centimeters in diameter, shot forth from the Jinwu's mouth. Lu Jiangwo's eyes widened in astonishment. Laser weaponry. Boom! Before he could react, the drone erupted in a fiery explosion. Am I dreaming? Lu Jiangwo murmured to himself. This was no trifle akin to an electromagnetic railgun. The research level of laser weaponry had surpassed Blue Star technology by at least 3 decades. Yet at this moment, a weapon that had only existed in science fiction lay bare before his eyes, prompting him to question whether he had been overly fatigued, leading to hallucinations. A soft crack echoed beside him. Lu Jiangwo turned his head to see Niu Yuli foolishly slapping himself. It was not a dream. It was indeed reality. Chapter 22. The super high-power laser, the sun forging an immortal weapon a few seconds later. A loud bang echoed as a drone crashed into the ground, creating a shallow pit and eliciting gasps from the crowd. Han Jinfeng was the first to rush over, meticulously examining the damage inflicted upon the drone. As a commander of the war zone, he held little interest in the scientific challenges concealed behind the laser weapon. His primary concern was the power of this laser weapon and whether it could be of practical use in combat. Upon inspection, he drew in a sharp breath. The drone was specifically outfitted with a layer of 50 millimeters of depleted uranium armor. Such thickness could withstand frontal assaults from the 105 millimeters rifle gun of a light tank. Yet at that moment, a gaping 30-centimeter hole had been penetrated in the very armor that the nation took pride in. The breached section appeared as though it had been melted away by extreme heat, radiating an unbearable warmth. Han Jinfeng struggled to flip the drone over and gasped again in disbelief. It had been thoroughly breached. He stepped back, his face a mask of astonishment, as if he had encountered a monstrous beast. Never had he witnessed a laser weapon of such power. Countries around the globe have been secretly researching the application of laser weapons. With existing technology, the most powerful lasers could only reach 300 kilowatts, capable of incinerating the plastic or aluminum alloy encasing a drone and subsequently igniting its internal circuitry and electronic components. No one had ever experimented with using laser weapons against depleted uranium armor. Moreover, no one had envisioned that one day the so-called strongest depleted uranium armor on Blue Planet would be pierced directly. How many kilowatts does the Golden Crow-S laser weapon output? Han Jinfeng asked, feeling a dryness in his mouth, struggling to voice the question. 10 megawatts. Jiang Yi replied with a slight smile, his tone casual. Yet this seemingly nonchalant statement exploded like thunder in the ears of Han Jinfeng and all the spectators present. 10 megawatts equates to 10,000 kilowatts. This was a staggering 33 times the power of the most advanced laser weapon developed by the nation. Such an energy level was nearing the power supply limits of a nuclear platform. Based on the current rate of technological advancement on Blue Planet, it was estimated that it would take another 30 years to achieve. The intensity of this laser could instantaneously unleash temperatures exceeding 5,000 degrees. What does 5,000 mean? The surface temperature of the sun is 500 degrees, and such heat could vaporize any substance on Blue Planet in the blink of an eye. Even Diamond had a vaporization point of merely 820 degrees. At this realization, everyone present stood up abruptly. My heavens, is this true? This is utterly inconceivable. If this is indeed the case, the entire Blue Planet will tremble as a result. Although laser weapons possess significant drawbacks, such as susceptibility to adverse weather conditions, rain, snow, and fog greatly diminish their accuracy and range. No one dares to underestimate them. This is because the Golden Crow has flawlessly addressed this critical issue. The Golden Crow is a satellite assassin soaring through the vastness of outer space, entirely unaffected by meteorological factors. It seems almost tailor-made for the application of laser weaponry. No wonder Jiang Yi previously remarked that the Golden Crow embodies super technology comparable to Xuanwu alloy. It appears he was not merely boastful, but rather we were short-sighted. He claimed our projects were worthless. Indeed, in hindsight, our endeavors barely qualify as refuse. Jiang Yi's words were still too gentle. Had it been me, I might have been far more audacious. Throughout history, heroes have emerged from youth. The ancients have not deceived me. Why don't we seek out Jiang Yi after the competition? If he could offer us a few pointers, the rewards would be substantial. Amidst the clamor of the crowd, Li Chui stepped forward with a cold sneer. Jiang Yi, you may deceive others, but not me. The Supreme Court has spent a decade developing laser emitters, and their maximum power barely reaches 200 kilowatts. With such enormous energy consumption, is it possible that this bird harbors a nuclear reactor? Upon hearing these words, the arena fell abruptly silent. Although Li Chui's remarks were harsh, they struck at the heart of the issue regarding laser weapons. The greater the power output of a laser weapon, the more energy it consumes. For the Golden Crow's staggering energy output of 10 megawatts, one would likely need to install a nuclear reactor within. Yet, this raises another question. How large is a nuclear reactor? Take, for instance, the USS Nimitz aircraft carrier, whose internal reactor measures 43 meters in diameter and 76 meters in height. Such colossal dimensions render it entirely impossible for the Golden Crow to accommodate one. Most importantly, consider the weight. When factoring in shielding and cooling systems, the entire reactor weighs a staggering 100 tons. This explains why, to this day, no nuclear-powered aircraft exists on Blue Star. Unless nuclear reactors are miniaturized, such a feat is utterly unattainable. With this realization, the crowd's expressions turned icy. Goodness, we nearly fell for this young man's deception. Thankfully, our wit allowed us to see through his ruse in time. However, the crashed drone left a lingering question in their minds. If it were counterfeit, how could one explain the wounds on the drone? Noticing the silence among the crowd, Li Chui decided to stoke the flames further. Since the laser weapon is fundamentally a fabrication, we can deduce the truth behind the drone's crash. I suspect Jiang Yi must have melted a hole in the drone in advance, attempting to deceive us. Suddenly, everything became clear to the gathered crowd. This explanation made perfect sense. Han Jinfeng, upon hearing Li Chui's words, gradually wore a cold expression. As a man of integrity, he held the utmost disdain for those who engage in deceit. If the Golden Crow truly harbored a nuclear reactor within, its physique would undoubtedly be exceedingly bulky, far from the majestic form it currently possesses. Could it be, as Li Chui suggested, that Jiang Yi is engaging in deception? Zhao Kongchang timely added, the technology for nuclear reactors is an absolute state secret in the Dragon Kingdom, and the Military Academy of Shuncheng has no means of acquiring it. Surely, you do not mean to imply that you have independently developed a compact nuclear reactor? Jiang Yi shook his head, sighing. There is indeed no nuclear reactor within the Golden Crow. Upon hearing this, Li Chui was instantly invigorated, as if infused with vitality. See, I told you he is deliberately misleading us. He pointed at Jiang Yi, his demeanor domineering. Jiang Yi, how audacious of you to deceive the Supreme Court, to deceive the Central War Zone, to deceive the multitude of researchers. A person like you is a disgrace to the Dragon Kingdom, unworthy of standing among us. You should return whence you came. Oh, I almost forgot, upon your return, you would face the death penalty. Amidst the quiese maniacal lauter, jangi meridis mild coldly. Although there is no nuclear reactor within the Golden Crow, I never claimed it lacked alternative energy sources. Jiang Yi turned towards the Golden Crow and proclaimed, activate solar energy absorption mode. Understood. Commander. No sooner had he spoken than the countless azure energy circuits upon the Golden Crow's outstretched wings blazed into life. The surrounding sunlight seemed irresistibly drawn toward the Golden Crow. Instantly, an overwhelming radiance enveloped the Golden Crow, rendering it as a divine bird, resplendent and sacred. Solar Energy Absorption Mode activated. Chapter 23. Request from General Han. The Golden Crow submits to the Dragon Kingdom. The temperature within a dozen meters of the Golden Crow escalated rapidly, prompting those nearby to retreat a few steps. Lu Jiangwo raised his arm, only to discover that his skin had been scorched. Is it absorbing solar energy? What magnitude of solar energy conversion efficiency is required for such a concentration of energy? Niu Yuli pinched himself fiercely, yelping in pain. Truly, a specter in broad daylight. The sunlight seemed to evaporate, casting a shadow over the surroundings. At that moment, the Golden Crow appeared as the most resplendent existence in the world, its brilliance so intense that it was blinding. Many spectators rubbed their eyes, incredulously gazing at the scene before them. Such cutting-edge technology had never been lacking in the Supreme Court's competitions, yet witnessing it manifest in such an exaggerated manner was unprecedented. Even the personnel from the Shunqing Military Academy were taken aback. Though they had painstakingly assembled the Golden Crow piece by piece, they had never tested its various functionalities. Had they known the Golden Crow was so formidable, they would have dismissed their previous frustrations. Who would dare speak ill of the Golden Crow now? They would have retaliated fiercely. Dean Shun's expression remained placid, yet his heart was tumultuous with astonishment. Jiang Yi, once a condemned criminal, within a mere month, had devised such an extraordinary creation. 3 minutes later, the Golden Crow gradually folded its wings. The surrounding temperature once again dropped. Jiang Yi smiled faintly and spoke. The Jinwu does not utilize nuclear energy, but rather adopts a more secure and environmentally friendly solar energy. As you can all see, the technology for lossless solar energy conversion has made its splendid debut. Upon hearing this, the venue erupted into a clamor. What did I just hear? Lossless solar energy conversion? Is this a technology achievable with our current level of science? I must have woken up too early. Perhaps I should return to sleep. Lu Jiangwo could no longer maintain his composure and hurriedly inquired. Jiang Yi, is what you said about lossless conversion true? Jiang Yi Genti nodded, sending a shockwave through Lu Jiangwo's heart. The technology for lossless solar energy conversion is a thorn in the side of many nations on Blue Star. Take the Eagle Sauce, for instance. Even in their most advanced laboratories employing stacked battery technology, the highest conversion efficiency achieved is merely 47.6. The 4-junction concentrator solar cells developed by Germany only reach an efficiency of 46.1. Meanwhile, the silicon stack batteries developed in Longhua are even lower, at only 33.9. Nations have persistently explored this avenue, yet no one has ever succeeded in creating a device with a conversion efficiency exceeding 50. And now, the Jinwu before them can achieve a staggering 100 conversion efficiency. What a terrifying prospect this is. It utterly defies the second law of thermodynamics. How is this possible? Lu Jiangwo was at a loss, and the pride and arrogance he had harbored collapsed in an instant. Niu Yuli let out a wry smile, as if he had aged several years in a moment. Old chap. Niu Yuli gazed at Jiang Yi with admiration, a smile gracing his lips. It seems that the realm of scientific research in Longhua will soon belong to these young minds. Zhao Kongcheng's eyes flickered, lost in thought. Han Jinfeng approached Jiang Yi with a solemn expression and said in a low voice, Jiang Yi, I represent the Central War Zone in making a request. Can this satellite killer be entrusted to Longhua? Jiang Yi was momentarily taken aback, but soon broke into a smile. Director Han, this is precisely what I ought to do. My purpose in participating in this grand competition was to ensure that the Jinwu serves Longhua. Please, take it without hesitation. I believe that only in the hands of the military can the Jinwu truly unleash its full potential. Han Jinfeng looked at Jiang Yi in mild astonishment. Such awareness, such spirit. Could this truly be the disposition of a traitor seeking glory? Han Jinfeng fondly patted Jiang Yi on the shoulder. Good lad. Rest assured, Longhua will not forget your contributions. The rewards you deserve will be expedited. Behind them, Li Chui sat on the ground, his face ashen. He discreetly glanced at Zhao Kongcheng, only to find that Zhao Kongcheng was entirely oblivious to him. Teacher, I truly did my utmost to thwart Jiang Yi's rise, but this kid plays by his own rules. I cannot be blamed. The thought of the reckoning he would face after Jiang Yi's ascendance sent a cold sweat down Li Chui's back. It is over. Everything is over. If Jiang Yi discovers the clandestine communication between himself and the Eagle Sauce during the reckoning, he will truly have nowhere to hide. It is inconceivable. How can an intern possibly develop such a formidable laser weapon? I refuse to believe it. In a state of panic, Li Chui suddenly noticed the open hatch of the Golden Crow and steeled his resolve. Jiang Yi, if you intend to make my life difficult, I shall not allow you to escape unscathed. I wonder how you will command respect from Longhua without the Golden Crow. With this thought, he stealthily approached the Golden Crow. Lu Jiangwo and others gathered around Jiang Yi, their expressions fraught with embarrassment. Jiang Yi, I apologize for my previous arrogance. The satellite killer you developed, the Golden Crow Type 1, has received a perfect score of 150. It It shall undoubtedly leave an indelible mark in the annals of Longwu's military industry. Puff. Upon hearing Lu Jiangwo's words, the competitors felt a wave of darkness wash over them. The total score today was an astonishing 150. They had previously believed they had merely passed. Now, it turned out that even the electromagnetic railgun presented by the Supreme Court had not achieved passing marks. Only projects as breathtaking as the Golden Crow could garner full marks. Haha, the technological level embodied in the Golden Crow has surpassed that of Blue Star by decades. We have temporarily adjusted the total score to 150. Otherwise, it would have been impossible to assign a score to the Golden Crow. If it weren't for the excessive nature of this adjustment, I would have even considered awarding it a score of 1,000. As Lu Jiangwo elaborated, hundreds of competitors were left in disbelief, immediately bowing down to the Golden Crow. Why must there be both Zhuge Liang and Sima Yi? Had they known that this competition would yield such a monster as the Golden Crow, they would have rather died than participate. Now, after exhausting years of research, their newly developed military technology has merely adorned the Golden Crow. Lu Jiangwo slightly bowed to Jiang Yi. Seeing Jiang Yi remain unmoved, Lu Jiangwo hastily added, I also extend my apologies to all personnel at the Shunshur Military Science Institute. Their ability to create such powerful military technology is commendable. Upon hearing Lu Jiangwo's words, the members of the Shunshur Military Science Institute were instantly moved to tears. They had long awaited recognition from the Supreme Court for their capabilities. From this moment forth, no one in Longwu's research community shall underestimate them. Who would dare utter a word against the Shunshur Military Science Institute? Only Li Yunfei felt a pang of despair, nearly collapsing to the ground. Damn it. The Golden Crow has indeed entered the sights of the Supreme Court and high-ranking military officials, and with utmost importance. His aspirations to profit from the Golden Crow have completely evaporated. The thought of investing both money and effort only to reap nothing filled him with frustration, wishing to bang his head against the wall. Witnessing Lu Jiangwo's demeanor, Niu Yuli promptly followed suit and bowed. Zhao Kongchang pursed his lips and, with reluctance, bowed as well. Seeing this scene, everyone present gasped in astonishment. What had they just witnessed? In the esteemed halls of the Supreme Court of Dragon Country, it was an astonishing sight to behold the illustrious president, Lu Jiangwo, bowing in apology to a condemned criminal. What a remarkable figure Lu Jiangwo is. He stands as a towering pillar in the realm of scientific research in Dragon Country, an unparalleled authority. Yet at this moment, this paragon of the scientific community humbly seeks forgiveness from Jiang Yi. Such an occurrence has never transpired in the annals of Dragon Country's history. Chapter 24. The Golden Crow ascends, soaring into near-Earth orbit. Jiang Yi hastily assisted the others to their feet. President Lu, Dean Yo, my contributions pale in comparison to yours. Your unwavering dedication to the scientific community of Dragon Country is exemplary. It is I who should learn from you. A slight expression of appreciation crossed the faces of Lu Jiangwo and Niu Yuli. To be acknowledged by a genius like Jiang Yi was indeed a source of joy. Only then did Jiang Yi leisurely approach Zhao Kongcheng, who was already blushing with embarrassment, his toes nearly digging into the ground. Jiang Yi intentionally delayed his approach, conversing with Lu Jiangwo and Niu Yuli first, seemingly to prolong Zhao Kongcheng's humiliation. Zhao Kongcheng shot Jiang Yi a fierce glare, surely harboring resentment for having allowed him to be sentenced to death without intervening. Director Zhao, please rise. With your esteemed status, I wouldn't want anyone to misconstrue my actions as disrespectful, Jiang Yi urged. Zhao Kongcheng promptly stood upright, though he let out a derisive snort. Very well, Jiang Yi. I can see that I underestimated you. Jiang Yi shook his head and feigned gratitude, saying, I must thank you, for without your actions, I would not have produced such excellent work. Zhao Kongcheng momentarily faltered, offering an awkward smile. At that moment, a resounding roar erupted from behind the gathered crowd. Turning to look, they saw the dormant Golden Crow suddenly unfurling its wings. Beneath its wings, several thruster nozzles ignited with a brilliant crimson glow. A hearty laughter emanated from the loudspeaker of the Golden Crow. Jiang Yi, I admit your prowess. Today, I have been bested, but do not celebrate too soon. I intend to take the Golden Crow to the Eagle Nation. Faced with such cutting-edge military technology, they will certainly invest heavily to protect me. Farewell. It was Li Chui. Instantly, Lu Jiangwo and the others recognized the voice emanating from the Golden Crow. Li Kui, I'll dare you. Lu Jiangwo exclaimed in disbelief, taken aback by Li Chui's audacity to brazenly seize the Golden Crow and even declare his intent to curry favor with the Eagle Nation. Such a traitor appeared before the Supreme Court, especially one whom he had once held in high regard. Lu Jiangwo felt a wave of shame wash over him, recalling how he had previously praised Li Chui as a promising talent. Was this not a blatant slap to his face? His fury turned his complexion crimson as he rushed forward, intent on pulling Li Shui down. Niu Yuli quickly intervened. President Liu, do not act impulsively. The Golden Crow is already in motion, and it is perilous to approach. Zhao Kongsheng also stepped forward, coldly commanding, Li Shui, come down at once. In a bid for victory in a competition, you have audaciously betrayed your country. Are you wishing to drive us to despair? Through the loudspeaker, Li Shui let out a chilling laugh. Zhao Kongsheng, I have long since resolved to seek my fortune in the land of the eagle. In a nation like the dragon, shackled by technological embargoes, I could never hope to rise. Only in the land of the eagle can I unleash my fullest potential. If one does not act for oneself, the heavens shall bring ruin. Blame the dragon for not providing me with what I desire. This golden crow is my declaration of allegiance to the land of the eagle. Amidst Li Shui's maniacal laughter, the thrusters beneath the golden crow erupted in a dazzling red glow, poised to ascend into the skies. Just then, Jiang Yi smiled faintly and gently pressed a button on the